Must Rasta bear this cross alone, and all the heathens go free? Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Must Rasta live in misery and heathens in luxury? Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. It's coming to tear down the walls of down oppression, drive away transgression, clean up corruption, rule equality. Must righteous live in pain and always put to shame? Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Must they be found guilty and always get the blame? Just say no. Just say no. Father, say no. Just say no. He's gonna tear down the walls of down oppression, drive away transgression, clean up the corruption, set the captives free. He will not give more than I can bear. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. He will not make Lucifer get your soul to smear. Just say no. My Father say no. Just say no. He might go tear down the walls of Babylon, clean up the corruption, drive away transgression, rule equality.
Hear the Lord, hear the Lord.
Shy foot against the stone. Just say no. Just say no. Father say no. Just say no. No form of destruction won't crumble my bones. Just say no. My Father say no. Just say no. He might go tear down the walls of Babylon, eliminate Satan, clean up corruption, rule equality. So I will not bear this cross alone, and all the world go free. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Just say no. I will not stay poor, living in poverty. Just say no. My Father say no. Just say no. He might come clean up corruption, drive away transgression, tear down Babylon, set the captives free. Just set them free. Just clean it up. Just sometime set the captives free. Yeah. Just say no. Set the captives free. Yeah. Tear down Babylon, clean up corruption, drive away transgression, set the captives free. Yeah. Set the captives free. Set the captives free.
Sounds of the man Peter Tosh, the late great Peter Tosh there. I'm Morrishaw, and I'm coming to you live and direct here from the Gaza. And you know, when I start off with those punching songs, where we're heading with the conversation this evening, it's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon, beautiful Wednesday evening here in the Boogie Down Bronx. Lots to chit chat about this evening, lots to talk about, lots happening in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. I want to say good afternoon to all you folks out there. I know that you've been waiting for me to log on for some time, get all of the alerts and everything like that, but like anything else, these computers, when they get their mind makeup to update software, you know, we just have to go ahead and accommodate them. So luckily for me, I was able to get those updates in and be here on time. I want to say good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister, the man, Dr. Terence Joe. I think, if I'm not mistaken, today would have made 1 year since nomination day. I would have been in St. Kitts around this time last year for nomination day, and what a day it was. So this evening, we're gonna have a quick chit chat with my boy there, McMahon, and we're going to get into some conversation with some things I'm hearing taking place there in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. You know that we're here to bring you only the facts and to update you on the positive things that are taking place in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And I'm going to encourage the people of St. Kitts Nevis to continue, fight on for your rights. And I'll be back to you shortly following this song by the late great Peter Tosh. This one is called Fight On, Brothers and Sisters.
Africa has got to be free. Fight on, brothers, fight on and free your land. Fight on, sisters, fight on and free your fellow man. Africa has got to be free by 1983. Come on, make us see, brothers, fight on. Fight on, brothers, fight on and free the land. Fight on, sisters, fight on and free your fellow man. You have paid your dues and you've got nothing to lose. And that is always my views. You got to fight on. I say fight on, brothers, fight on and free this land. I say fight on, sisters, fight on, free your fellow man. Cause if Africa is not free, then we all will be back in shackles. You see, my brothers, fight on. Fight on, brothers, fight on and free this land. Fight on, sisters, fight on and free your fellow man. Brothers has gone in exile for such a long while. Fascism too vile, brothers, fight on. I say fight on, brothers, fight on and free this land. I say fight on, sisters, fight on and free your fellow man. We need majority rule. Simit and Vasta is too cool. Early morning to fight on. Come on, fight on, brothers, fight on and free this land. Fight on, my sisters, fight on and free your fellow man. Fight on and free yourself. Fight on and free the land. Fight on and free your fellow man. Fight on.
Yes, the fight continues, you know, beloved Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. We got to fight on to free our brothers and sisters in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And we know the fake profiles are out there. We know the fake news are out there trying to distort the good things that is happening in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. But we'll continue to shed light on what is happening. And as we approach the anniversary for the Labour administration that took over from that corrupt regime, called the Team Unity Concussion. We will give you some updates as they roll in. But let me take a bit time out here to say good evening to some folks online. Jeanette Guel Hull, how you doing? Good evening. Hope all is well with you guys. Keisha Graham, wow, you found me. It's nice to know you have time to log on to DJ Morrishaw, Keisha. How is the kids? Also want to say hi to Iona Do. Farrell. Farrell, how are you doing? Good afternoon. Elvin, Ellie, how are you doing, my brother? Everything is good with you? Hope all is well on your end. Hilla Brown there in the Virgin Islands, hope all is well with you. The man Luther Kelly, you find me. I hope you took care of that honorarium that I give you a job to do there in the Federation. I hope you take care of those ladies there. Romelo Jeffers, how are you doing? We're in the world, are you, my brother? Hope all is well. JG, hope all is well. Hazel Claxton, good evening. How are you doing? JT Taylor, Alvin Brown, Kevin Chapman, Kervin Wilkin, Tamika Salid, how are you doing? Delicious Nicholas, Loretta Clark Queely, how are you guys doing? McLeod, Evan Jeffers, how are you doing? Petrona Ballot, Chelsea Yoseria, Libert, how are you doing? Tanya Powell, Dawet Fleming, hope you guys are doing well. Mr. Kevin Wilkin, hope all is good with you. Sister Dibasu, also want to big up my boy there. Clayton Davis, hope all is well with you. Bo and Evelyn Yulin, sorry, in the Virgin Islands. Kelvin Daly, the man Tulu, and the man there, Brother Henry Daniel, man Carlisle Powell. Want to say good evening to you guys. We're going to get into a chit chat in a bit. But before we get into the chit chat, I want to jump straight into Dwyer Astafan's commentary today, because I think that is the highlight of what was taking place last week. We're speaking about the CBI. You know, I always hear my grandparents say, "Who can't hear will feel," you know. And you all remember the markup fella there, boy Blue, Baby Brantley, been crying about fair share with this CBI. Well, I think it appears that he might be getting his fair share not too long from now if England and the rest of the world have their way, because the CBI is facing some serious issues, and it have a lot to do with what's happening in the past years, but more so in the past 7 years. I understand Dominica now have to get visa to go to the UK, our motherland. So let's take a quick listen to Dwyer's commentary today as we start the program off on the right track. I want to say good evening to Sister Beverly Morrishaw and her team there. Missionary Deborah Wallace, the man Roger Wallace. How about Sister Melissa Beard? How about my girl there, Buck Up, Melva, how you doing? Hope all is well with you. My baby girl, hope all is well. Sister Gwyneth Morrishaw, and Farrell Smith, Cora Bennett, Tracy Powell, and company. Let's take a quick listen to Dwyer as we get straight into the chit chat following Dwyer Astafan's commentary for today. Very powerful commentary. I was supposed to give Dwyer a call earlier and have a conversation with him about this commentary, because I realized in this commentary, he was very bold in shouting out the name of Denzel Douglas and Timothy Harris in regards to his commentary, but still, he's not getting to that line where wanting to call out Baby Brantley across the navies for all the mishandling of funds and projects there and in the navies, island of Navis, our sister island there, Queen City Navis. But nevertheless, he's doing a good job, and I have to compliment him on his good work. So let's take a listen to G.A. Dwyer Astafan commentary for today.
Greetings. On July 19th, 2023, that's last week, United Kingdom government issued a statement of changes in its immigration rules by taking away visa-free access for people holding passports of Dominica and other countries. The UK government said that careful consideration of Dominica's citizenship by investment program had revealed clear and evident abuse, including the granting of citizenships to persons known to pose a risk to the United Kingdom. The UK government also said that it took the decision mainly for migration and border security reasons. That decision regarding Dominica is very relevant to us because we too have a citizenship by investment program. Now, this is not the first time that there's been talk of these things and action by foreign governments with regard to our jurisdictions. Some of you will recall back in 2014 when the United States Treasury Department issued an advisory against us. Two of the major concerns, if I recall correctly, were one, people were getting passports who had been on the terrorist list, and secondly, the place of birth field had been removed from our passports. And the US Treasury Department said, no, we cannot tolerate this. So they issued an advisory, and it still stands today. And in that same year, 2014, Canada ended its visa waiver entry for people holding our passports. We see some measures to turn that around have begun, but nowhere near completed. And there was also concern by the Americans and the Canadians and others that bad people might be changing their names and applying for and getting our passports under different identities. So this problem of bad actors, unsavory characters, persons who the governments of those countries consider to be a threat to their national interests is not a new problem. And those bad actors and unsavory characters who got our citizenship by way of investment were not the only ones causing concern for those foreign governments. Some bad actors also got citizenship by marriage in St. Kitts and Nevis, using the cheap route. One of them, infamously, Hush Puppy from Nigeria, got his passport in 19 days. Fake marriage. He's in a US jail, serving an 11-year sentence. Now, a little background. I'm not going to go into detail about the one-man show that was pretty much our citizenship by investment program in the 1980s and early 90s. Instead, I'm going to start in 2006 when the SIDF was introduced. Three groups of people from then to now have caused us to be where we are today, facing the risk of near total closure of our CBI program. First, the bad actors who got our passports. Second, the decision makers who allowed the bad actors to get our passports. Some of those bad actors even got diplomatic passports. The same decision makers who, whether through incompetence or deliberateness, failed to serve and protect the best interests of the people of this country by not regulating the industry as tightly as they should have done. The same decision makers who, over the 16 years between 2006 and 2022, misspent hundreds of millions of dollars from the public purse, squandering the opportunity and demonstrating reckless disregard for their mandate to use that money to build the foundation for a new green and blue economy and a dignified and progressive and prosperous society. And the third group of people who have caused us to be where we are today, developers, agents, and service providers who made lots and lots of money helping these bad actors get our passports. And these developers, agents, and other service providers who, driven by greed, engineered the race to the bottom with the lowering of pricing below the legal limits, accelerating the race to the bottom for us. All three groups have embarrassed our passports and our country. Their accumulated badness has put us in this difficult and calamitous situation where we face the real threat of losing visa-free access to the UK and Europe, and thereby seeing the drying up of by far the largest single source of cash flowing into our country. Arrogance, incompetence, corruption, and greed. And see where we are today, with our present Prime Minister and his team scrambling earnestly to save us from this calamity. You may not think it is a calamity, You may not even be a supporter of the CBI. But if this dries up and you will start missing the benefits of the CBI, then you might understand. The last two previous prime ministers had been warned time and again and urged to tidy up the program, but precious little was done. Money was flowing in, and some persons abroad and some persons here were laughing all the way to the bank. I estimated one particular well-established provider might have been raking in between 5 and 7 million US dollars a year, not paying a penny in taxes here. A Swiss firm named Henley and Partners, which I believe had been small until it got into business with St. Kitts and Nevis, the Douglas administration, in 2006. Henley and Partners became very successful out of our CBI program. They were given a worldwide exclusive deal to market and promote the SIDF program. Worldwide exclusive. They alone. But they were also allowed at the same time to represent other countries in the Caribbean and take exclusive deals with those countries as well. And when they fell out of grace in 2013, the Douglas administration signed up a similar deal with another company called CS Global Partners. That was in August 2013. They renewed the agreement in September 2018 and renewed it again in May 2022, 3 months before the last election. And under that agreement, they are allowed to collect 5,000 US dollars for each successful applicant under the alternative investment option, and US $10,900 for each successful applicant under the Sustainable Growth Fund. My guess is that they have hauled in as much as 30 million US dollars from the Chinese Galaxy Prison project alone. We can use only them, but they can work with other countries. And I estimate that between 2006 with Henley and Partners and today with CS Global, that you and I have been and are paying between $20 and $40 million a year, US. So 17 years at say $30 million a year is 510 million US dollars in promoting and marketing fees paid out of your money. When I think of that money, I think of hospitals, water, energy, sewage treatment, schools, research and development, food safety and security, national security, climate resiliency, the arts, culture, proper and consistent maintenance and upgrades of our airports, seaports and so forth and so on, redesigning our towns and villages, and the whole 9 yards. Aren't you, the people of the country, the ones who should have been getting, if not all of that $510 million, most of it? I can understand you engaging promotional and marketing agencies, say 2 million or 3 million US dollars a year, but not this kind of large money. Who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of this industry? The main beneficiaries. Yes, all of the stakeholders must benefit from it, but this is a St. Kitts Nevis program, and the primary beneficiaries are supposed to be the people of the country who have been deprived of the primary benefits of it. Why did the Douglas and Harris administrations agree to those deals? And I'm calling upon the Drew administration to rectify this situation as a matter of urgency. Meanwhile, in the past, blinded and hyped by all of that money, nobody could be particularly bothered to fix the problems. Instead, we heard dismissive, distractive, and ill-advised comments to the effect that the US and Canada and the UK and the European Union were jealous of our programs, wanting to shut us down. We also heard that they were upset because we were making so much money from what we described as our platinum brand. And we were saying that they felt that only they should be making big money. We were also told that they were bullies and that they wanted to take bread off the tables of poor kitchens and divisions. Well, based on what I told you just now, who's taking bread off our tables? We heard talk that those countries have similar programs which they're trying to protect. But those arguments do not make sense. If they want to be more careful about their programs and who they grant their passports to, more power to them. And whether or not they want to be more careful about their programs, we have to be more careful about ours. They know that we are small. They know we don't have gold or other precious metals or oil. They know we have to survive, and they would feel far better if we were able to survive on our own without having to lean on them. And they understand the dangers to them. If St. Kitts and Nevis and other small countries in the Caribbean become economically weaker and politically unstable, this could have serious knock-on effects on the United States and Canada and Europe, and they don't want that to happen. So they're not jealous of our program. They're just telling us, look, the passports are yours, but the fact that your passport holders are allowed visa-free entry into our countries makes us your partner. The visa-free entry gives your passport greater value. So respect that and let us work together. That is the rationale coming from those countries. They don't want to destroy us. It's not their fault, it's ours. You see, part and parcel of the problem also here is that we have opened the door to certain Chinese and other developers who have sold and have been allowed by the authorities to sell our citizenship at prices below the legal thresholds, allowed to do so by the authorities and to operate without limits and deadlines. They have scarred and defaced our landscape with unfinished projects, and they seem to wield a heck of a lot of influence in high circles. Even now, look at what happened at the swearing-in ceremony. People from Galaxy sat in front of the Taiwanese. Look at what happened in the UN last September. People from Galaxy sitting in the General Assembly with the St. Kitts and Nevis delegation. How come they're wielding so much influence? How come they wielded so much influence before? How come it's continuing? Clearly, they have support somewhere up high, but that support is not in the best interest of the people of this country. And we are feeling it now. And it will only get worse if we don't sort it out. We know that at least one of these Chinese groups is close to both former prime ministers. Both of them and the sycophants and yes men around them caused this crisis and left it now for the present prime minister and his team to solve. And I frankly and respectfully do not think that either of the former prime ministers, Douglas or Harris, can be part of the solution, because they were the major causes of the problem. Respectfully, nothing personal. And there are others in key positions who have been very unhelpful, in fact, who have hurt the government and the country's position. And they need to be removed. It's not only tidying up the regulations and administering them, it's tidying up the human landscape in the industry, in decision-making positions in the public sector and certain private sector stakeholders. It needs to be cleansed. You can't have people going around here disrespecting investors and discouraging them and basically dismissing them. In the meantime, we have to look for alternatives. Fight as hard as we will to hold on to the CBI industry and substantial market share insofar as its contribution to the economy. But we have to build out the economy, alternatives and additions. Tourism. In order to get this tourism thing up to the next level, the government has to take progressive and prudent steps with regard to Christoph Harbour and Kitishan Hill. Those are two gold mines waiting to be mined for the best interest of the people. And now is a good chance to review those situations and rewrite the arrangements. And all of these abandoned projects or incomplete projects need to be brought into consideration to carry forward into the new tourism industry. We need to grow our food production and processing sector, promote research and development, promote technology-driven enterprise, the entertainment industry, movies, music, etc., and other economic activities. We have to do these things, CBI or no CBI. But a greater urgency has now set in as Dr. Joe and his team try to clean up the mess which they inherited. I want to tell us that this is a critical moment and catastrophe could befall us. I want to encourage our Prime Minister and his team, take the lead, move smart, move deliberately, move quickly, and try your best to solve this problem. Until next time, God bless.
you know, as I listened to Brother G.A. via Astafan commentary earlier, as I always do, I check the information in advance to ensure that I am presenting information that is good for the viewing public. And as usual, it was a bummer today to listen to that commentary. But as I reflect, you know, today is the 26th of July. And I received a call last week, about a week and a half ago to be exact, from my father, summoning me to come and visit him on his birthday, which is today. So I went across to the community center where he was, and he was there, happy to brag and show his fellow citizens, his son and whatever and everything. And you know, it was a good feeling to see my father today at 90. My mother, I lost at 52 back in 1992. And it's amazing. I have not slept in pajamas in over 50 years from what I can recall. And my father is letting me know today that how he loved me, and he just want to make sure that we speak on his birthday because he look at tomorrow as a new day. He's continuing into another year, and he want to make sure that if it's anything that he may have done to offend me over the past years, he want to apologize and make sure that we are good. And I tell him, Francois, you know, the deal with you and I, whenever we have a conversation, we have that conversation, and when that conversation is over, it's over. We don't carry animosity or whatever. You know, we might have difference of opinion. I cannot speak for the other kids, but I can speak for myself. I love you, and I am here for you, just as you have been here for me from the time I met you. We met at a later part of my life, but from the time we have met, you have been supportive, and I have nothing but love for you. And should anything happen to you, I will be here to stand up for you. So we had a good conversation. And then when I'm about to leave, he gave me a black bag. And he said to me, don't open that until you get home. But curious me, got outside, and I opened the bag, and it was a brand new set of pajamas in a plastic bag. And I said, I wonder what signal is this God is giving me today? Is these pajamas my father is giving me because something is taking place with him? Is it something that is going to be taking place with me? Is it what our federation is facing at the time? The Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, the hard times ahead that our people don't seem to understand. And that is out for the judge and the jury to come back in. But nevertheless, I want to say happy 90th birthday to my father, the Alfonso Morrishaw. And I hope you hit the century. As long as you're not taking some of my birthdays, I'm good with it, because, you know, I always accuse you of taking some of my brother's birthday, because he too died at 51 back in 2015. So at a very tender age, I always struggle to reach past 50, because I had younger brothers that passed away. My mother passed away at 52, but I'm doing good. And my cousin there, Catherine Morris, she always said to me, Jeffroy, you're not going any place no time soon. God have you here for a purpose, and look at the things that you have done. But as I reflect on today, the anniversary of nomination day, and I listen to all of the banter and social media and the people that was responsible for our hardship, our destruction, our mess that our country are in today. Those people, like the patch-up fella there that comes on twice a week on social media, Mondays and Thursdays, chatting nonsense. And when I listened to the nonsense, someone called me, tell me if I heard him Monday night, and I had to go and listen. And when I hear some of the nonsense that patch-up fella is talking, you know, I had no other option but to come this evening and address him, you know. Because if the Prime Minister and the Labour administration are afraid to deal with these people, I have no problem dealing with them, you know. last year, 2022 was not an easy year for me, you know, because following what transpired in 2021, when our citizens got arrested, 3 of them, for an entire weekend, for holding up a placard, for standing up for their human rights, their civil rights. They were just crying out about all the wrong things that was taking place by the former administration. This Patrick fellow was here as our ambassador to the United Nations, here in New York. Showed no care and no interest for human. All of a sudden, he is the biggest fan of human rights and chatting a lot of nonsense. And people are listening to these guys. I want to know if our citizens, some of them cannot think for themselves. The amount of millions squandered, millions gone in bank account overseas and wherever. They rape the country and they rape women and men. They're a bunch of rapers. Ask them if they ever rape anybody. You know, when they're out there banging them out like they're the cleanest whistle on earth, their hands are not clean. They're dirty from top to bottom, inside out. And these are the realities. So since Prime Minister Joe want to take the high road and ignore them, DJ Morrishaw not going to take the high road. You know, I'm going down in the gut where they went. I'm going to meet them down there. We got a place in St. Paul's called the Ghetto. A lovely place to hang out down there. You play your domino, you play your cards, you drink, you eat, you do whatever. Lovely place. We're going down there to meet them. Because on this anniversary of nomination day, I refuse this evening to come on this program and don't deal with the patch-up fellow. Because when they're talking about receipts for expenditure for lunch and breakfast and whatever, and when people travel abroad, if they bring back anything, these people travel for 7 years, what they brought back? What have they brought back? Right now, about CBI is in danger. That's what they brought back. The millions upon millions that came in the last 7 years from our CBI, they squander it. Do as they please. Baby Brantley Nevis, instead of him trying to put things right, he crying for his share. He didn't come and tell them as foreign minister, what you guys are doing is wrong. We need to strengthen our relationship. We have to strengthen our borders. He didn't come and tell them that. He said, you all thief and I want my share. I want my fair share of what you are stealing. So now the country is in a mess. And I know the divisions, they are crying about the relationship between the Premier and Prime Minister Joe. The honest truth is, you know, I have no problem with the relationship with the Premier and Prime Minister Joe. Whoever the Premier is, I want to make sure that Nevis is considered as part of the Federation and treated as such. My issue is with the leader of the loyal opposition, you know. That is what I'm looking for. Nevis, I will deal with the Premier in Nevis because there's a lot in Nevis to deal with. And I want to hear up Brother Daly, Brother Carlisle, Brother Tulu, and Brother Henry Daniel. I listen to you guys there Thursday and Saturday. And you all going to have script, you know. You all talking about all kind of things in the region and in England and whatever. I want you all to stick to the issues in Nevis. The relationship between Baby Brantley and the AG and Prime Minister Joe and whoever else in cabinet is not an issue for me, you know. That issue will be dealt with at the appropriate time. What I want you all to focus on is what is taking place on the island of Nevis with Baby Brantley and his team. I want to thank my brother there, Brother Cozier, Brother Dwight Cozier, for joining me last week. Very good presentation, very good discussion, and I look forward to continue that. This is where I want Brother Daly, Carlisle, Tulu, and whoever else has access to social media or radio or whatever it takes on Nevis. I want you all to focus on the issues, not on the relationship of the AG and the Prime Minister and anyone who's in cabinet. Let's focus on the hospital situation, the opposition office, the airport, and everything else, the people that are not benefiting, that should benefit on Nevis. These are where we need to pay attention to. I'm going to jump right into a clip here from the Patch-Up Fellow on Monday evening. And I'm going to break it down, you know. This evening, we're going to break down everything. We're going to break it down where everybody could understand where DJ Morrishaw is coming from. Because if it's almost a year since the administration took office, I have not heard anybody make mention about investigating, getting a report, a financial statement from the past 7 years from the mission. A lot of them was inside the mission there. You know. Some Kanda was in there. The Patch-Up Fella was in there. Taxpayers' dollars, St. Kitts Nevis taxpayers' dollars is who maintained the mission. You know. Many of them come here, they got to stay, whether in hotel, in apartment, wherever they put them up, is taxpayers' dollars putting them up, you know. When they go out and hang with their friends on evenings or weekends, having a good time, is the taxpayers' dollars maintaining them, you know. When they have to revamp or replace furniture in their apartments because they want to live more luxurious in New York than when they live back home in St. Kitts Nevis. Some of them live in a 2x2 cube. When they get into government in St. Kitts Nevis, they become ambassadors and they come here. They're living in mansions, you know. They're getting state-of-the-art treatment, you know. Wasting taxpayers' money. So when the Patch-Up Fella going to talk about justification for money spent, well, let's have the conversation. Because I need the cabinet. I need Dr. Joe and his ministers of cabinet to have a conversation and launch an investigation in the last 7 years. Because I know for a fact of many people that get money out of that mission that wasn't qualified for it. A lot of hanky-panky went on in that mission under them. And this is not no hearsay business. This is factual, right? So let's listen to the Patch-Up Fella, and I'm going to break it down for you.
There's so many interesting things going on in our little country. But we raised an issue about 2 episodes ago in relation to the many citizens that continue to ask whether the frequent travel overseas by our ministers of government has provided any benefits to their portfolios and more so any benefits to the country generally. The point was made that it is high time now to introduce some kind of accountability measures so that when a government minister travels overseas, he or she must publish a travel report within 60 days. Someone said that's too long. But within 60 days, we are suggesting of returning home. And we anticipate that there will be some guidelines established as elsewhere in other jurisdictions for official ministerial overseas travel. And the travel reports, of course, would outline the cost of travel, because it's expensive now to travel, the purpose of the travel, and the benefit, as I said, of the travel to St. Kitts and Nevis. And we did suggest that the Prime Minister must then approve the report, the travel report, for publication. Yes, publication on the government website. We have to hold our leaders, our servants, public servants in particular, accountable. It was therefore good, very good, my Straight Dog family, to hear Dr. Drew trying to inform the country about the outcome of his last overseas trip, which began something like this.
Well, just before we go into his clip of whatever Dr. Joe reported his last trip, when you all see the patch-up fella on the street, when he has his programs, I would appreciate if you all ask him, you know, for the time he spent at the United Nations here at the St. Kitts Nevis mission, has he to date provide any report on what he have done with taxpayers' dollars? Has he reported on all the wastage that monies he have spent more than any other ambassador to the United Nations in the history of St. Kitts Nevis? He even did not want to use the old vehicle that previous ambassadors used. It was reported to me that he wanted to get a brand new vehicle. They had to fight him not to do that because the vehicle is in good condition, fairly good vehicle. They are waste of time. As the farmer has said about Baby Brantley, they cannot manage money. When it's not their money, they don't care, they just waste it. But now, they are aware of what they were doing when they was there. So they are assuming it's going to continue under this new administration. So what they're trying to do is to bring all the smoke screen to give you, the general public, some negative views of the current administration. They know what they did. There's always a saying when someone are judging you, they're judging you based on their behavior. They do not know you. They hear somebody say something, and before they get to know who you are, they're all over your ass. But we know who these people are. They're a bunch of crooks and criminals. That's the kind of ambassadors they are, crooks and criminals. Because what they have done to the Federation in the last 7 years, criminals haven't done that to the country. They affect every last one of us, whether home or abroad. Whether locally, regionally, internationally, what they have done, they have affected every national, every citizen of St. Kitts Nevis is going to pay. The kids that have already born and the kids to born are going to pay the price for the damage that these people have done to the country. So when you hear these patch of people talking their nonsense and you're all entertaining them, it's okay to say the government is not doing what you guys want them to do in the time frame you all want. But we are not in there. We do not know what they met. I want to believe that they meet more problems there than they anticipated. Some are saying, we want work. We don't want no butcher museum. Some are saying, water problem, but the water problem been there. The water problem been there under all the administration prior to this one. This one is trying to resolve it. At least we can see the efforts have been made to repair the problem or to correct the problem. So when these people come in running them out, I ask them the question. The issues that we are faced with today, they did not start in the last 12 months. They did not start in the last 2 years. They did not start in the last 3 years. They campaigned in 2013, 2014, that Douglas was this worst man in the world. He's this criminal. And they was given an opportunity in 2015, February to be exact, to lead the country. And look what they have done to us. Look at what have they done to the country. And every day, from the time the Labour administration has been installed, is one negative after the other. You got to give the people a chance to do what they have to do. You guys had 7 years. You all make it worse, not better. And I can speak to this patch-up fella that I'm speaking to, because this patch-up fella and we get along very well. We communicated on a regular basis while they was in opposition. When they got into position, and I tried to point out to them what they campaigned on, and what the wrong they're doing to the country. They don't want to hear me. So they take away the speech from me. But I am here tonight to set the record straight. And what I'm saying here tonight, I'm not cussing anybody, you know, I'm just giving my opinion. Just my opinion. And I'm dealing with the facts. And only the facts. So when you all see the patch-up fella, ask him for me. Because I know he's not going to reach out to me. But just ask him for me. Have he given any report on his time he spent at the mission as yet? And I would say to the government, I would say to Dr. Terence Joe, Prime Minister Joe, and his members of cabinet, have you guys started an inquiry in regards to what transpired with finances and everything else at the mission here in New York? Because the place was mismanaged, was misused, and in the last 7 years, I don't care who was down there, it was corruption after corruption. And who not like what me I say? Tough. But this is the reality. That mission need to get a forensic investigation, a forensic inquiry for what transpired from the Team Unity administration took over government in 2015. Since they want to talk, let's start the things then. Let's investigate and let's present the facts to the public. Let's try the matter in the public square. Let the former foreign minister answer the questions. Why there was a breach at RLB by the patch-up fella, and to date, we don't have any closure to that report. Let them tell us about the hush puppy matter. Why it did not go forward. Let's talk about the COVID situation. From what Wendy Phipps said, there was volunteering their service, nobody getting paid. But they secretly approved some $300,000+ in January of 2022 to share amongst themselves. While poor people in St. Kitts Nevis don't have nothing to eat or a pot to piss in. But now today, them same poor people who was not getting nothing, I had nothing to say, have a lot to say today. While they were raping the country and raping people, them people who were suffering silently had nothing to say for 7 years. But today, they have a lot to say in the less than a year of the Labor administration. And you know what I on that topic, you know? While I on that topic, before I forget, some time ago, over the last couple of weeks, I don't know if it's Model Cop or someone, but someone did something either on Facebook or on Freedom FM. And they were giving credit to the now Governor General, Dame Marcella Liebert, that this young man that is hanging with her, it's good to see that he was with her prior to her becoming governor and she maintained him around her and how good it is and whatever. And though I respect what Marcella is doing, and though I am happy for that young man, anyone in St. Kitts Nevis who can get themselves elevate, I did not lose sight of what the young man said to me last year. You know. Last January, the 24th to be exact, January 24, 2022, I came down to St. Kitts and I applied for a permit to walk the streets of Bastille. And I dubbed my march in solidarity with the police officers after that incident at the last stop with Lindsey Grant and some police officers, General Powell and whoever was involved. And when I applied for that permit, in less than 24 hours, I received a letter declining permission for me to march. And I sent a strong message to the police, you know. And I told them straight up, I am a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. And you may deny me the opportunity to march with some colleagues on the streets of Bastille, using the COVID, using the pandemic as a cover, which was abuse of power, and taking away my rights as a citizen to walk the street with my colleagues to demonstrate our outrage over what was taking place. But I sent a strong message to the police, to the high command, and to the powers that be, that though you may deny me the opportunity to walk with colleagues on the streets of Bastille, I want to see you take away my rights to walk the streets of Bastille with thousands of online viewers online listening to my rant, because I was dealing with the facts. And I did my march on my own. I walked the streets of Bastille and I talked the things, and the people hear the facts. And it's funny. I got a call from my son in California. He said, "Daddy, did you give permission to the Prime Minister to put your picture on a flyer?" I asked him, "What you're talking about?" He said, "Well, there's a domino event taking place in St. Kitts, and there is a flyer that is circulating, and your picture and Aston, the dancing commissioner, picture is on the flyer." And I tell him, "Send it to me." And it happened before he even sent the flyer to me. Someone sent me the flyer, invited me to that domino event over the Enlarged project at the community center, right across from the ball field. And I was happy to go over there, because while the high command was denying me the opportunity to walk with 100 people on the street of Bastille, including myself, which is an open area, claimed because of the COVID, I wanted to see how many people they will have in that enclosure playing domino and partying. And I went over to that event, and I walked with the cricket counter. I was the umpire for the day. And I stand there, and there's one side there was kids' party, and the other side they had whatever, and the bounce house and everything is there. And I count the amount of people that was there, including the CMO, the then CMO, Dr. Laws was there. I got pictures with all of them. And it was in excess of 180 people in the place, that little place there. I spoke about it on Freedom FM. Some people want to cuss me, right? Some people want to cuss me, say I should not this and I should not that. I know the funny thing about it is, I made sure I positioned myself where the farmer had at the time he was the PM, where he could see me. And that little boy of a prime minister, as big as he is, when he walking, coming towards me, and he realized who he was walking, coming towards, he stopped in his tracks, and he make a U-turn and tell the security, "Let's go the next way." And they walk and went through another door and came to the back. And he went and he stand on the outside. And the way he watched me, I watch him. He watched me and I watch him. And when I was satisfied that he saw me, and I was satisfied that everybody knew that I see what's going on, I left. And I went that Monday and I filed another application for my march. A week later, I filed another application. And that application was filed, I didn't hear from anyone. The application was filed for me to have the march on a Thursday. I think it's the 17th of February, the march supposed to take place. So on the 15th, which is a Tuesday, my birthday to be exact, I received a call from a deputy commissioner. And I was told that the commissioner would like to meet with me 8 o'clock the Wednesday morning, which was the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, the date. And he wanted to speak to me about my application for my match. And, you know, I went to the police station in Bastille, bright and early, very bright and early. And when I get there, just like I anticipated, the commissioner was not available to meet with me. I had to meet with the deputy. And when I met with the deputy, he said to me, well, Mr. Morrishaw, the commissioner, apologize for not meeting with you. He has previous engagement. And he wants me to speak with you about the route of your match. And I said, okay, what's the issue with the route of my match? He said, the law does not allow matches in front of government headquarters and the police station in Bastille. And your match, your route include those two areas. I said, that's not a problem. If that is the law, I'm not here to break the law. I'll change it. He said, well, I need to send him on your route. I said, no, you need to give me a route. I gave you a route which you said is not allowed. So you now give me the route. So he sit down there and he do his thing and we agree on a route. And his response to me was, in principle, the march is approved, because that was the only concern they had. The fact that I'm going to pass in front of the police station and government headquarters. So in principle, the march is approved, but he got to go back to the commissioner to make the final determination. I said, no problem. So I left from the police station and I went by the big JL. I stopped over by Freedom FM. And I said, well, I was told that the route for the march is not a problem. So the march is approved. It's approved in principle. So I would like to do a commercial. And the big JL called Jamie and they assisted me. I voiced the commercial and we played it on Freedom FM that afternoon. And that Wednesday evening, as a matter of fact, I made sure I told the commissioner before I left there, I need this thing to finalize today because I'm going to play it on my program tonight, which was that Wednesday night, because the next day is the match. So he understood all of this. There was no misunderstanding. So that evening, I played the commercial that we're going to be marching from Port Zante and the route and everything, bam, bam, bam. And as soon as I came off the program that night, I received a call from the same deputy commissioner informing me that someone sent him a clip of my program. And I said that the march was approved, and in principle, the march was approved, but is not approved by the commission. I said, Mr. Commissioner, officer, we had a conversation. We agree that the areas that I could not walk with the group was corrected. So in principle, the march is approved. And that is what I tell the people. The march is approved. That is our conversation. He said, well, in principle doesn't mean it's approved until the commissioner say, the commissioner have the final say. And I told him, with all due respect, Mr. Officer, I already put it out there in the public domain that the march is taking place tomorrow. I will be marching tomorrow. I have no way of telling those people who already make up their mind they're going to come to march that the march is canceled, because I do not know who make up their mind. I know I put the information out there and I will be marching. So we're between a rock and a hard place. So it's up to you all what you all want to do. He said, okay, let's sleep on it and I'll get back to you in the morning. And bright and early in the morning, he did call and said he had a conversation with the commissioner and they agreed that it'll be more of a problem to try and to stop me from marching than to allow me to march. Right? So on my way to the march that afternoon, back to that gentleman that hangs out with the Governor General now. That gentleman was right across the street from Kentucky by the Chinese bar there drinking with some co-workers, some friends. And he stopped me, And that gentleman said, boy, Morrishaw, if you want me to march, you got to pay me, I said, if I want you to march, I got to pay. He said, yes. If you want me to march, you got to pay me because you got to be getting paid for what you're doing. Nobody gonna work so hard for free. That's what his words to me. Nobody gonna work so hard for free. You're getting paid, so you got to pay me. So, all right, no problem. And I went along my merry way. And there, when I got to Port Zante, I was touched when I see people like Sandra Byron, Earl Clark, another lady, I think she's a Calypsonian, she was in a wheelchair. I don't remember her name offhand. But the people, the few people that came out, the Tag Puppy that came out to support the mission, it was a small crowd, but it started building up. The now Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, said to me he had to go to a funeral in Keon, but he will come following the funeral. Larry Vaughan and Big Lice, the guys said they're going to come after the funeral. And the march was approved from 3 to 6, I think it's from 3 to 6 it was approved. And we went around a couple of times, and Dwyer was pushing Earl Clark in his wheelchair. And Dwyer said to me, Morrishaw, the old man foot is not that strong, so I cannot go around another time. I said, okay, let me go and speak to the police officers. And I went and I spoke to the police officers, and I said to them, I said, listen, the folks are kind of tired. Can we take a break at West Independence Square and then do one final go around? I'm waiting for Dr. Drew to show up, and once he comes, we're going to do one final go around, and that's it. The police officer tell me, yes, no problem. But to my surprise, when Dr. Drew showed up and we tried to go around, the officer came and told me, no, you cannot go back around. You got to stop. This is it. It ended. An order came from the high command, which I believe came from the former Hag, not to allow Dr. Drew to walk the street with DJ Morrishaw. And they mash up the session right there. I remember Sam Conda saying to me, boy, Morrishaw, they approve you until 6 o'clock. Don't pay them no attention, let's go. I said, Sam, my mission was to walk in solidarity with the police officers, not to fight with them. I think the message is clear. They don't want us to go around, no problem. Talk Puppy came, he said the same thing to me. And I explained to them. The Talk Puppy said, boy, Mr. Morrishaw, you are a special kid. He said, you're so calm under pressure. With all the pressure they put on you, you're so calm, you don't get upset, you don't act out. I don't need to act out. There's a time and place for everything. And what is happening today for me, with all the people that crying out about all kind of manner of evil, I don't have a problem with the people I'm talking, I don't have a problem with people talking about what the government is doing and not doing. You guys living there. You all feeling the heat. You all seeing the things. My question to everybody was, and still is, worse than this was happening. There was no help for you all for 7 years. Where were you all tongue? Where were you all eyes? I am not saying Dr. Drew and his team is doing everything 100%. I hear the complaint that in number 6, they have 2 representatives in the persons of Dr. Douglas and Giles Clark, and nobody seeing them. I hear the complaint. And if that is so, Dr. Douglas and Giles Clark need to improve. I'm not cussing at you for saying it. If that is so, Dr. Douglas and Giles Clark need to improve and find time for their people, because they was elected to represent the people. I get some complaint about Samuel Duggins as well, over there in the Hertfordshire area. And I went and I spoke with him about it. And he explained to me that he'd been having meetings. But as I tried to explain to some of these politicians, some of them I do not know what kind of politicians they are, because it seems as though they think up in the space. They're not on the street, they're up in the space, they're flying all the time, so they don't understand what's going on the ground. And I'm trying to make the politicians understand that when you all go out there and put something on social media and say we're having a meeting at the community center, or you go on ZELLE or Freedom FM and say we're having something at the community center at the ball field, a great deal of these people, a great deal of these citizens does not have access to social media. They don't have smartphone like you all. And everybody got data. So you have to come up with another alternative to reach the people on the ground. The same people that JefroyMorrishaw will come to St. Kitts Nevis and communicate with for a couple of days. I'm there for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and I could reach them. You're there on the ground. You guys have to go into the community. You, politician that was elected to serve the people. You're not elected just to go into cabinet, into parliament, over to Nevis to hang out at Sunshine, over at the Marriott, over at wherever hotel, Kitishan Hill. You, the same way you had your ground game to reach those people when you wanted them to vote for you. You got to maintain that same ground game, whether it's through yourself or through your other connections, your street guides, whatever you all call them, your agents. There are too many people that are complaining about not being, that the politicians are not accessible to them. You have to be accessible to them. Otherwise, when the next election come around, it's going to be a harder job for you to get them, you know. Because up to last night, I'm talking to a young man in St. Paul's, and he told me straight up, he said, Morrishaw, I listen to you. I follow your program for the last couple of months, for the couple of years you've been on. And you were talking the things, and what you're saying are factual. And even though I didn't plan to vote, I vote for Labour because of you. He said, but I don't want to, if I don't see no change, I don't want to hear from you, you know. I don't want to hear nothing from you. Because the people that you all promised, when you was campaigning, you all make certain statements, the people holding you all to that. And what the people are saying to me. I don't want to hear about no Bratcha Museum. I want money in my pocket. I want work to do. You all campaign about the prison project. You all campaign about the solar farm. You all campaign about the Bastia High School. These are things you all campaign about. Nothing changed. Nothing look changed. Things are still the same. So when I'm talking the things, that is why I'm saying to my brothers across the Nevis, I understand the frustration. Brother Daly, I got your back. I understand your passion. What I am saying is enough and Nevis for us to focus on. Because where the Labour Party is concerned, they might not be concerned about the electoral office, because in their mind, it's 4 more years before election. And in that regard, I reached out to the Prime Minister and the AG this week, you know. I haven't heard back from the Prime Minister as yet. But the AG and I had an in-depth conversation. And I appreciate him to clarify some things for me. And I made it clear to the AG. So, Mr. AG, maybe the mindset of the sitting government is election is the next 4 years. So they don't have any interest or any rush in fixing the electoral problems that they campaign on. I said, but that is for St. Kitts. What's happening to Nevis? Elections could be anytime in Nevis. This is where my concern is at right now. So I need a straight answer. When will the issue of the electoral office be addressed? That is one of the things I campaign on. That is one of the things I fought for when the Labour government was in opposition. So I need to know. I don't want to hear no more promises. I want a date. when will the issue at the electoral office, the electoral commission, be dealt with? He said to me, Mr. Morrishaw, it will be done by the end of this summer. Well, I went and Googled the end of summer, you know. I went on my phone and I Googled the end of summer. And according to what Google tell me, the end of summer is September 2018. So I am in observation mode where the electoral office is concerned. I know that elections and Nevis would not take place before then. So I'm not going to lose any sleep. Where we're going to have an issue is come September 28 and nothing start and nothing is done with the electoral office or the electoral commission and St. Kitts Nevis. That is where we're going to have a problem. But on that particular subject with the electoral office, I was given a deadline by the AG. And I want to thank him for his accommodation and his conversation. Because like I have said in the past, I don't have any reason to be out here cussing and carrying on like some of you. Because guess what? The government ministers, to me, they are accessible. The Prime Minister is accessible. The AG is accessible. So when I hear the complaints, anyone send me any information, I reach out and I stay on it until I get a satisfactory response. And tonight, you know, we're going to play some of the conversation from the Target. Because I believe, as passionate as Mr. Daly and Brother Tulu and Hensley and them speak, I'm not saying I agree with everything that they're saying, but I understand where they're coming from. So my good people, for those of you who are out there who might not want to hear, the realities are the conversations are taking place in the communities. The problems are real. The concerns are real. So let's be respectful to everyone and listen. And for those of you who believe that you're benefiting today, so everybody needs to shut up. You was appointed to a board, so everybody must shut up. You get a little job on this side, so everybody should shut up. You're ambassador, so everybody should shut up. It doesn't work so. It does not work like that. Everybody can benefit and should benefit, and the country can run properly. But everyone also needs to understand the magnitude of what we're dealing with and what the government met there. There's a terminology used of stopping the bleed. I do not know if there's a better terminology that can be used, but I understand the terminology. They met more than they anticipated. They have to balance the books. People got to get paid. As a matter of fact, you know, before I get back into the patch-up fellow, I find out some things here this week that I did not even realize that is so much things going on in our beloved federation. So let me take off my glasses for this. Because I am finding out that the government, 1/4 of the federal budget is spent on PAP, STEP, Elevate, which is formerly the Peace Program, water subsidies, electricity subsidies, food subsidies, etc. While you got some people out there who are doing well, that don't need the money, that are doing all kind of manner even to trick the system and getting these special events, getting these PAP and PEP and STEP and all this kind of stuff. You know, I don't think there's any other island in the Caribbean that are spending this kind of money on their people. You're talking about spending in excess of $250 million on social support. $250 million on social support. When you add up that annually, you know the amount of money we're spending on our people? While folks crying out, you know, folks crying out, while you have people who can do better and can give a little ease to the country, they're out there demanding that subsidy for electricity bill. It is not just for residential, it's for everybody, including businesses. The government is paying the subsidy and that. As I said previously, this new housing project that they have coming, there are certain people that cannot stand up to that kind of money there. Some people live in cubs. Sheep and goat live in better place than them. They can't afford to pay for them things there. There are other ways that we can voice our views and give the government ideas to try and assist in get things going. But following the patch-up fella there and the farmer hog and them chatting nonsense. I asked them what they did in the last 7 years. So let's continue with the patch-up fella.
My street dog family.
Today, I am going to share with you an overview of my recent time. I want our people to know that when we travel, we're actually working abroad. These visits, they do a lot to advance our country. They do a lot to make sure that our country remains among nations, the leading nations of the world, give us a chance to dialogue, to build relationships, and all this help advancing our country, which is felt at the very kitchen table of our citizens and residents. And therefore, it's critical that we make a number of critical trips to move our country forward. I traveled to Anguilla for the ENSA opening ceremony, a quick stop on my way to Brussels for the EU CELAC summit. And for the time that I spent there, I was treated with a great deal of hospitality. It's a beautiful island.
ANSA was celebrating its 20th biennial Anguilla Nevis St. Kitts Association's reunion. And it, after 40 years, I should say, this reunion meeting was in Anguilla, my street dog family. And like you heard, the Prime Minister found himself in Anguilla. And according to the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, the Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, arrived in Anguilla on Saturday, 15th July. Remember, this is July. And he arrived in Anguilla on the 15th of July. We have not been able to confirm as the SKNIS have not or has been rather silent on his departure from Anguilla. But Straight Talk understands that the Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, left for Brussels on Sunday 16 via jet charter. We've been trying to confirm that. It would therefore be important to find out what was the course of travel for Dr. Drew from Anguilla to Brussels. And we posit the view, my Straight Dog family, that the cost of travel must be an integral part of the ministerial report. So we are again purporting strongly that with all these travel ministers, it happens in other jurisdictions. I can think of New Zealand, for example. You can go on that site and you see ministerial reports on their travel. And they're quite explicit. Very simple. The purpose of the travel, the cost of the travel, and the benefits of the travel. What benefits derive from the travel to the particular country?
Again, I have to say to you people, these patch-up people here, chatting nonsense. I have no problem seeing the ministers or anyone who represent the government and the people, when they travel, come back with an expenses and income and expense report, what they accomplish. I done that for years while I worked for the hospital, while I worked for the union. I traveled the country, the entire US, training people in hazmat and health and safety. I trained them in airborne diseases. I trained them in all kinds of health and safety, workers' comp, confined space. I had to give these reports because it's the federal government monies was paying us. Though I was doing it through the hospital and through the union, the grant came from the federal government. I had to give report on these things. My question to the patch-up fellow and to you, the people of St. Kitts Nevis, have they done that? In the 7 years they was there, are there any reports to show that the monies that they squandered, the millions that they squandered, what did they accomplish? Right now, we're in Queen City, Nevis. That has been my campaign for the last couple of months. That federal fund that went across to Nevis, where did it go? That monies that went into the hospital wing, the expansion wing, that should have completed in 24 months. We should have been 2019. It's now 2023, it's on pause. Has the Premier and his people, his cabinet, has they presented a report of where the money went? We heard a budget address. We heard about an extra 12 million. We don't hear about where all the money gone. If they say it and I didn't get it, somebody need to send it to me. We're talking about accountability for the people's money. They had 7 years to do it. They did not do anything. But in less than 12 months, they are saying to this government, you all just started, but we want to know what the completion is. You just started the job, but I need to know what the completion is. This patch-up fellow, you all need to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable, please. When they come with them nonsense, stop them in the tracks. Ask them, what did you do? How much money did you spend? What did you bring back to us?
Our second observation, Dr. Drew also spoke about the presentation of our Voluntary National Review, our VNR. And that is a process through which countries assess and present national progress made in implementing the 2030 agenda, including achieving its 17 Sustainable Development Goals and the pledge to leave no one behind. The purpose of the VNRs is to present a snapshot of where the country stands in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals with a view to help accelerate progress through experience sharing, peer learning, identifying gaps and good practices, and mobilizing partnerships, my Straight Talk family. And as well, we learned, we heard the comment rather from the Prime Minister on this VNR. Here's what he said.
We just had the presentation to the UN. I'm sure you all see it. The Voluntary National Report that was done by the Honorable Congress Maynard, the review that was done by the Honorable Congressman had. That was very critical. And that was the first time St. Kitts and Nevis ever presented that to the UN. First time in history. From the UN report, it is well accepted thus far in what we would have presented. That money would go towards establishing the sustainable island state.
My Stray Dog family, for 11 months, I have been telling Dr. Drew that government is continuous. And I want to tell Dr. Drew tonight as well that the Voluntary National Review, the VNR, was not done overnight, Dr. Drew. So credit must be given to the former Permanent Secretary of Sustainable Development, Elretha Simpson Brown. Credit must be also given to Orrin Manners, I think he is the focal point. And lots of credit must be given to the then third secretary at the permanent mission to the United Nations in New York, Denala Laplace, for her efforts expended to ensure that it became a reality. And my Stray Dog family, I don't even want any credit from Dr. Drew or anyone, even though I was the one who made the presentation possible. So when you hear him talking about first time and trying to imply that this was a credit to the man who can't finish his song, it was I who wrote the letter to my colleague ambassador and brother from Botswana, Ambassador Colin, way back in October 2021, to ensure that St. Kitts Nevis presented its VNR at the high-level political forum, my Stray Dog family. And
you know something? This guy's talking about credit. And if they be honest with themselves, you know, if any of them be honest with themselves, is one person down in that mission that represents us as the United Nations that deserve credit for our accomplishment at the United Nations in the last several years, even prior to 2015, you know, is a young lady by the name of Ghislaine Williams out of Bay. This lady, she know her stuff. She know her business. And when these wastes of time who don't have a clue about what's going on down at that mission and the United Nations, this lady has taken us above and beyond any other country down there. And he got enough to come take credit for the work of Ghislaine Williams. I have a problem with that. A serious problem with that. So this patch of people, when they think nobody know better, I know better. I have been working with that mission down there from 1985. It doesn't matter which government in power. I do my part to make sure that we are sustainable in this area. You all need to stop listening to these people coming home and lying to you all on social media. The facts are many of them come down there with a foreign minister or whatever they are, just then doing the bull load of the work. The donkey load of the work down there is just then doing it. Doesn't matter who they put in there. Past, and present is just then doing the bull work down there. I'm not going to lighten a lamp to tell them. I'm not going to bite my tongue to tell them. It's Ghislaine doing the bull work down there. And to another topic here from the Patch Up Fella event on Monday night. And this one have to do with a gentleman that apparently have some issue not getting his social assistance. So let's take a listen.
Differently able. So instead of dispatching a social development officer to investigate this complaint by this Mr. Nolan, instead the senator comes to this conclusion, my straight dog family.
Mr. Nolan, I would encourage you can contact social services, and if you have that number, see if you can find that number. But if you do not have that number, that means your application would be a new application, and so that it would be another matter in terms of when we reopen the application.
If I don't have that number, I'll have to reapply again?
Yes, you would have to. If he doesn't have an application number, that means you are counted as a brand new applicant. And unfortunately, because of the numbers that we have persons who did apply and submit complete eligible applications that are still pending, and so of course we would need to prioritize those persons at this time. But there will be a time when we actually do reopen the applications for anybody and everybody new or otherwise to resubmit to receive the benefits again in the future.
So the process is not open as yet, you're saying?
Not currently, no.
Is it possible for you to say when it would be?
Not at this time.
Wow. That's all we can say as Street Dog family. Wow. This is cold. Cold, cold, cold. But this is the new Labour under Terence Michael Duke.
Now, again, I spoke earlier about this gentleman while he was ambassador down at the United Nations here in New York. 3 of our citizens was arrested and locked away for the weekend for demonstrating their civil rights, their human rights. Not only those 3 people was arrested for the weekend, others was tear gas unceremoniously. And when I tried to reach out to the Minister of Government in St. Kitts, couldn't get in contact with any one of them, even though they used to pick up the phone previously. The only one that picked up the phone and have a conversation with me, God bless his soul, was Brother Vance Emery, the late Vance Emery. And he said to me, though he was not in agreement with what transpired, he's not an elected member. He's not part of cabinet. So there's nothing he can do about it. But when I come down to St. Kitts, we will speak. I still have the WhatsApp in my phone from brother Amri. I tried reaching out to the patch-up fella here while he was the ambassador. I tried speaking to our director of diaspora here, Alva Pemberton, and without any kind of response. But today, he's telling you that he is the savior. He is the person that cares about other people. This patch-up fella, he don't care about nobody but himself. I can recall while in quarantine, one of the things that they told us, I had bought some stuff for Monarch, and I know he needed them right away. I tried to send the package to the front desk for Monarch, and we were told that nothing can come out of quarantine. We can only receive stuff in. The patcher fella came in from Miami, and he brought a bag, a complete piece of luggage. And his daughter came to pick it up at the quarantine there at the Royal St. Kitts. And they told her that she couldn't get it until her father finished his stint at quarantine. And the man went on bad with some serious bad word over there, and called his daughter and tell her, come back to the hotel to collect the bag. And she came back and received the bag while he's in quarantine. Let him tell me I lied. let them come and tell me I lie. While this man was in quarantine, this man was having meetings with people. They don't have no respect for laws or anything that they put in place. They did not care about people or government, only about themselves. I sat in quarantine and watched a lot of things was going on. And when I started speaking, they wanted to get me out of there as soon as possible because I have reported before. According to the laws at the time of the quarantine, the rules were, we're in quarantine, and in that group, we all was mingling while in quarantine. So if anyone tests positive for the virus, you have to go through another 14-day spell. This was their rules they put in place. You had to go through another 14-day spell if anyone tests positive. And I asked them straight up. I came down from New York, I test negative. I have some place to stay in St. Paul's. So when you all put me in that pig pen and somebody come in here positive, and I test positive after 14 days, who's going to pay for the next 14 days? Because you're not going to be Jabber's grandson. It's not going to be Clemmy grandson. So you better know what you're all doing. Well, the reality is 2 people from our batch test positive for COVID. 2 persons test positive for COVID. But the hotel manager didn't waste time to call me. Tell me, Mr. Morrishaw, you're the first person I'm calling, you're free to go. They make sure that I was out of there before I hit the airwaves again. So whether I had COVID coming out with it, they didn't care, as long as I get out of there. Well, back to the clip that I just played there, where the patch-up fella talking about Miss Phillip did not do her due diligence for the gentleman that need help. Well, that gentleman sent me a voice note this afternoon. And I'm going to play the voice note because I want you, the general public, to get the facts. As I said, I'm not here to curse anyone or to fight with anyone. I just want to present the facts to the general public and you make your decision. If the former administration, the Team Unity concussion, the former HAG, the former foreign minister, the former deputy prime minister, if the concussion with PAM, the People's Action Movement led by Sean K. Richards, the CCM led by Mark Brantley, and the PLP led by Timothy Harris, they decided that anyone making 3,000, above 3,000 will not get any support from the government. You must be making 3,000 or less. That was their rules. And people was out there making 5,000 plus, some of them even live in North America and getting the PAP and getting the PEP. And the government get in there and decide they have to change up the things because it's not sustainable. And they got their people out there campaigning and trying to make the government look bad. Well, Ms. Phillips had apparently some kind of radio program and she was giving updates on what's taking place. And this gentleman called in and was talking the things about his situation. Apparently, he has some missing limbs and needs some assistance. Well, in his own words, let me give you all his update. Not what Morrishaw said. This is in his own words.
Dr. Joe, I was just advised from a member of staff of the Poverty Alleviation Office that I am not qualified for the assistance from the PAP. I would like to know if this is the treatment that are meted out to persons like me, right? I gave them what I was getting from Social Security, added to Hazel's money. She's making minimum wage. They say we ain't even 4,000. We're 3,000 and something dollars. I understand that the threshold is 3,000, but Dr. Joe, Brother Burnell is saying, and I think I should be compensated in some way, shape, or form. Some way, shape, or form. I'm asking you if you can intervene and look at this and assist me, please. Dr. Joe, I am in need of this help. I am in need of this help. So please reply to this message and let me know if you can or cannot do anything about it from here on in.
I will tap your screen, open your mic there. So I'm sorry, it was any household making 3,000, right? It is clear that this gentleman's household is making above the 3,000, but yet they're ready to jump on the Labour Party and Prime Minister Joe about their rules that they put in place. They put it in place that anyone making over 3,000 will not get no assistance. I don't have a problem with Brother Burnell or anyone else is saying, listen, life hard, 3,000 is not doing it for us and we need some more assistance, and if you can help. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is the people that created this problem. The people that burned down the house is the people that want to rebuild it. And because you're not giving them the chance to rebuild the house, they want to burn up the material. They want to gas the material. They want to burn up whatever you use to rebuild the house. That's all it is. Good evening, Brother Ira. Welcome. You wake up?
That's putting it mildly. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right, man. It's good seeing you still.
I can give you all kind of excuses, like circumstances beyond my control and all of that. But the honest truth is, I got distracted with other stuff.
I could imagine.
Anyway,
I know
I'm here,
it is.
yes.
The bottom line is you're here.
Yes.
Just before I go to the next clip, I know you've been here before and you might think you don't need to introduce yourself, but there's new people online weekly. So if you can just give a quick synopsis of who is Ira McMahon.
Just an ordinary citizen who, unlike so many other ordinary citizens, not afraid to speak up and speak out, just like DJ Morrishaw. And so I comment on the situation in our country from time to time. I try to do it in an objective and fair way. And that normally lands me in trouble with one side or the other. But I do it anyway. Yeah.
All right, so well, welcome and thanks. The last time you were here, we had a very good conversation. And even though I personally wanted you back, it was not so much myself want you back, but the online viewers very impressed with our conversation and your sentiments, because you call it how you see it. And I do my best to do the same. And I just tell people, you know, it is no secret that I support Dr. Joe and what he's trying to do to put our country back on track. But at the end of the day, if I see certain things in a certain way, I reach out to them and they do respond to me. But at the same time, I get the complaints about other narratives, and it's my responsibility, if I'm going to continue with this program, to report to the people and bring these concerns to the general public. So some might say we're cussing the government. I know we're not. I was told don't use the word constructive criticism. I don't use that anymore. I just stop the things the way they are. And if folks are paying attention, they will just...
What's wrong with constructive criticism?
I really don't know, but some people just think criticism is not good, period. There's nothing constructive about it.
Somebody got to do it. I mean, how do you improve? You remember when you were at school, when you got some things wrong and you got some things right, the teacher would concentrate on the things that you got wrong. Why? Because they want you to improve. They want to correct you, right? You pay less attention to what you got right because well, you got it right, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, of course, yes, we know that it's good motivation to pat you on the back and tell you that you're doing well, yes. But at this level, we're not at kindergarten anymore, right? So you don't have to stroke anybody's fragile egos, put it that way. Okay, everybody is grown, and they should be able to take it. They're supposed to be in the kitchen, so they should be able to take it. And this concerns leadership at all levels. I'm not just talking government. I'm talking opposition. I'm talking anyway at any branch of society. I think if we have to hold each other accountable, then there have to be constructive criticism. If I were you, I wouldn't run from that. I wouldn't run from that.
Well, I am not running from it. Basically, everyone have their opinion, but and just like your statement you just make, I will say to you straight off the bat. I understand what you're saying, but I am of the view in this world, the kind of atmosphere that we're dealing with today, I believe is important, very important, more so now than ever, that when it comes to the politics and what governments are doing around the globe, you have to come hands in hand. You have to talk about the good that they're doing, the improvements that need to be done, and what might be on the negative end. You cannot just concentrate on what is not being done. You got to also say what is being done. Because, you know, I listened to a conversation some time ago, and I chose not to get involved in the conversation because Baby Brantley made a statement in a press conference and even on his platform there on a Wednesday evening. And he keeps saying that Janice Daniel Hodge won her seat last election by 8 votes. I don't know if you heard him say it, but this is something that he tried to propel every opportunity he get, that Janice only won by 8 votes. But if people are paying attention and pull them up when they chat the nonsense, right? They would know that that particular seat was more than 200 votes in deficit. So before Janice could win by 8 votes, she had to make up that deficit, you know. People don't pay attention to these things when these politicians talking.
Yeah, there was an obvious swing. I mean,
it was. I mean, and he tried to play it down. It was not an obvious swing, Ira, a big swing.
Play it down. Play it down. The man is flabbergasted. You know, he was shell shocked. Shell shocked is more the appropriate word to use. Okay.
You know. So my thing is,
he didn't see it coming. So
he didn't see it coming. You know. As a matter of fact, he said nobody knew me Nevis, you know. But if I think by now he know that the whole of Nevis know me, eh? But the point I'm trying to make is, and I would like us to try and call the things there across the board. We cannot just talk about what you came in a bit late, but on the earlier part of the program, I was trying to give a little history, a little background to this date, my nomination there a year ago, to see where people basically had no interest in labor, Dr. Joe, or elections. Everybody was satisfied that they're sipping the water, minding their business until 2025. I went through a whole series of cussing on social media from my good friend, people like the King Sweeney and Wally Wilkin and Myla Box. They are my good friends, you know. And I remember at one point you came in, I didn't even know you as yet, but I knew of you on social media, and you told them somebody win the fight, and it was none of them. Because basically they could not see for the life of me the bad or the wrong that was being done by the farm administration. But today, they sit back and they have all the answers. Everything that they did wrong then to our people, to our country, they got the answers today. And all of those people who was not willing to take the fight to them today, They're the biggest labor. You know, I see a
Well,
friend of mine from Sandy Point.
That's what you normally get with incumbency, yeah?
But I didn't know that. I didn't know that. This was a crash course for me.
Yeah.
A serious crash course.
You
I
know,
did not know that our people are like that.
everybody gravitates towards those in power, all right? Until they lose it.
All
Then
right.
is when then is when you know what hits the fan, okay?
Yeah.
But back to what you said there though, I don't think there's any shortage of voices that are promoting what the good that is being done by the government. Okay. I think in some respects they're very obvious. The government is making a good case for what it is doing, what it is doing right. The problem I think is that people's expectations are high. Okay, and they've grown very impatient. These are not the days when you can just sit back and say, well, my party is in power and therefore things got to be good. You know, you have to be able to hold even your party, even your government, the governing party accountable. Okay, yeah. Because that is what inevitably gets government in trouble, right? If you look through our history, the government in power never lost because of things like a bad economy. People didn't have money and the economy wasn't buoyant. There was nothing like that. It was usually a combination of other factors which included corruption, bad governance, arrogance, things like that, okay? And of course, the undermining and backstabbing that all parties frequently go through, okay? They lack the discipline of parties of old, put it that way, okay? Some may say that's good, some may say that is bad. But the fact is, when you have an ill-disciplined party with ill-disciplined members, they tend to cause confusion, okay? And we end up with the kind of back and forth, and we end up changing governments eventually because the people get tired of that and feel that, well, you're not really looking after my interests, you know, you're looking after yours and your party members and your family and your friends, etc. And when you lose the electorate like that, that is when they turn on you, okay? And then, you know, people would express surprise after and say, but I've been doing stuff. I mean, you look, for instance, at Team Unity's term when Patches lost. Arguably, I heard you were talking about him earlier. Arguably, he was the star candidate for Unity, you know, because he, being the infrastructure minister, had all these things to show. Don't mind that he had to get the approval of cabinet and the finance ministry and all of that. The fact is, he was the face of the successes that Unity had. And he lost. He still lost. And that should tell all candidates, all politicians something, okay? We gotta be careful what you do. It isn't just about delivering goodies for the people. If it was just about that, well, Harris would still be in power, okay? People look beyond that. You know, they think more now, right? And so you can't just give them superficial things and think, well, and think that they'll be content with that. You better come good or go home. Simple.
You know, and you're so correct, Ira, because in my phone here, I got a list of things. When I say a list of things, many projects, many things that the government has done since they got into office. And I could run through them, and there are some great accomplishments. But you speak to the average man on the street, that don't mean nothing to them here. And this is where the government need to overcome. The average man on the street need to know what is in their pocket, what is there for them, what is their benefit. And I heard Sam say something during our Get Rid of Them campaign about the situation in St. Kitts and Nevis these days is that everything is transactional. And you know something? It is a fact. But who to blame for it?
Well, you know who I blame? I think Harris corrupted. He was the epitome of transactional politics. This quid pro quo.
No, but Harris couldn't do it by himself.
He couldn't do it by himself, but he was the leader, and to a large extent, he had his way.
But before he became the leader.
The critical point is, right? People generally answer the question that most parties would ask, most candidates would ask: are you better off now than you were before? And if that answer is not yes, you're in trouble. The incumbent is in trouble.
I am pretty sure if you ask that question today in St. Kitts Nevis, I'll go out on a limb and say, if you ask the question today, are you better off today than a year ago? The majority of people will say no. But if you were to ask that question of the previous administration, the answer will be the same, you know, because it was a small group of people that were benefiting under the farm administration.
Well, in terms of the largest, in terms of the getting the
yes,
cushy jobs and the
benefits and everything.
But the transactional nature of Harris was such that a large number of people, for instance, got the $500. You can't discount that.
Let's go back to the beginning, right? Of the transactional thing. You had two parties, the People's Action Movement and the CCM, which the largest number of seats to form a government that I think they could have formed without the one seat that the PLP had. And they went into an arrangement called the Charlestown Accord, which was thrown in our face throughout the campaign period up until the one in 2015. And that Charlestown Accord was there for, what, 7 years? Never, to me, got implemented because I still hear in Nevis crying for the fair share. But I live to hear the farmer hog call it a Honda Accord because he said that was not a accord. This constitution is what takes privilege over anything else. And who was a part of those transactions? My good friend Sam Andoya was a part of it, you know. My boy Douglas Watley was the chairman of the PLP. So all of them is I hold accountable, you know. Larry Vaughan, you know. All of them was in there. So when they're gonna talk about holding Timothy, I'm not so sure about Larry Vaughan, but I'm gonna try him in there because I want him cost me when he get a chance. But I know Douglas Watley was the chairman, and Sam is a part owner of PLP, and Dwyer was there with Sam. So at the end of the day, the transaction began back in 2013, 2014, when what year Douglas fired Timothy?
When was that?
Either 2013 or 2014, you know.
Yeah. It's more like 20, yeah, one of those 2 years. I can't remember often. Yeah.
Because keep in mind, hadn't Sam resigned as deputy, if Sam had not resigned as deputy prime minister and give Timothy some life, and Douglas had called a swift election, there would not be no team unity. You know? But Douglas don't talk to the little black boy from St. Paul's who was an unpaid advisor. He listened to the big boys, I mean, big wig in town like Contender and Jenkins and them, who give him false advice. You understand? They thought they could have swing it out. And I tell them, call quick election. So I am happy that Dwyer and them guys was able to form the coalition. At least we have something to compare now. But what is bothering me is that these people that destroy the country and corrupt and had the transactional thing going on, today, they're out there singing this song, and I don't think the government, the Labour administration, is doing a good enough job as to inquire, investigate, whatever you want to call it, these people who was there, and let the general public know. They're giving them too much stock when they're the people that burn down the house. You know, you cannot burn down a house and then come brag about whatever and cussing me because I'm trying to fix it.
I agree. The priority, though, I think, should be on creating the systems to make sure that that kind of thing don't happen again. Okay. Based on what was said when they took the reins of power, okay, people were primed into thinking, boy, all hell gonna break loose because of what we found in here. Okay. And if something doesn't happen in terms of holding those who are in power before accountable, people are gonna get cynical. People are gonna say it's politics as usual. Okay. And if you bring up these things close to an election, people are not gonna be listening. Why would they listen? Huh?
Well, you realize what you just said there, right? And this is where the people have a problem. The government of the day is trying to ensure they put safeguard and mechanism in place that this problem does not happen again, while simultaneously trying to restart the economy. But the people is crying out because they cannot see the big picture. That's why I said earlier, I can give you a list of things that this government has done that has been very good for the citizens of St. Kitts Nevis and for the country. And I don't want to bust the bubble, but I know for the anniversary of the government for next week, there's going to be some stuff coming out that I would hope that is pleasing to the general public. Because
and I don't know if you heard Dr. Drew's interview this afternoon with EK.
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No,
but basically,
sleep and me have a Ira. Sleep and I have a very good relationship. I went and visited my father earlier. He made 90 today, and I came back home, and I reflect on life and where he's at and everything like that, and I decided to take a sleep.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
Right.
After all, you want to live to 92.
Correct.
Right. You know, but in the interview, he did list a number of achievements and what we can expect coming down the road. Okay. One thing that he said that I was really glad that he mentioned was the fact that he is aware that things like water and electricity are top things that any government, any self-respecting government is supposed to be delivering for its people. And he understands the urgency, and they're going to be working towards it. Now, people would say that he says the same thing in interview after interview, press conference after press conference. And you can see the angst in some people. Like I said, they are impatient, the expectations are high. And I don't expect us to be here this time next year talking about the same things.
No.
Right? You know,
I don't think so. I believe that this time next year we will be in a much better shape. And you know, you know something, Ira, a lot of us, we stand aside and we complain, right, about everything that the government not doing. And we should know the government cannot do everything by themselves. And one of the problems that I have seen happen over the years, when I was at ZIZ, I see it happen, is that government candidates, when they're on the platform, they would say, you nationals that travel abroad and gain experience, we want you to come back home and bring your experience to us. And when you do that, you know, you get knocked down. Many people complain to me about this. And there are several people out here, several of us out here that have these experiences that we offer to share. And it's going to be up to the new administration and the powers that be to accept the help. Because I don't know if you remember some years ago, there was a Dr. Amory, a kitchen here in North America. And he's a very good doctor, and nobody know anything about him, heard about him in the general public until there was a situation where the then Governor Pataki of New York had to have an emergency heart surgery. And that doctor is who did that surgery and saved his life.
Yeah, I remember that incident. You know? Yeah.
And then Dr. Amory became a household name. I think he do come to St. Kitts from time to time. Right. He operates out of, I think, Dr. Law's office in Bastille.
Actually, Dr. Drew mentioned him this afternoon in the interview as well.
All right. And that's a good gentleman to be a part of our build out for the current hospitals there and the new upcoming hospital. And I too, I will make myself available wherever I can assist. But we as citizens, we stand aside and we complain and we complain. As someone said to me some time ago, my daughter was the first to say to me, she said, Daddy, I have heard Mommy talk about you as a DJ. But what else you do besides play music? And my daughter is now 40 plus years old, you know, and she does not know what her father does. And when I break it down to her and told her, well, your father has been an electrician for 40 plus years and whatever. When I give her the breakdown, she was shocked, you know. And recently I had the opportunity to have some conversation with another individual. And when they look at my stats, they cannot believe. They look at me, they say, I cannot believe that you have this kind of things behind your name. But our problem is that we don't give respect to our own. You ever hear the saying, a king have no honor in his own country?
Well, I would expect that there are some things that should be done straight out the door. If you're going to involve the people in the diaspora, one of the first things they have to do is have some kind of database of who these people are and how they can help, what their expertise, area of expertise, what area they are experts in, and how they can help the country. Okay, I am sure there are people out there who certainly wouldn't mind contributing some of the time and, if not money, to the national effort. Okay, but there doesn't seem to be an organized way of going about it. You know, some people might on their own approach government, maybe with a proposal perhaps, or with some kind of contact that may be able to make some donation, things like that. Okay, but it's too ad hoc. You want a structured system whereby anybody in the diaspora can log on to and post their CVs, for instance, and have an interaction with key people in the administration. I guess that would be Big Lice's area of concern. I think is something to do with diaspora affairs. But basically, and because we have the technology now, that should not be something difficult to do, all right? So that we know exactly where to go for the experts that we want. We know where we can go for help. We know who we can call on for help. We know how to galvanize assistance if needs be, God forbid, some disaster or something like that, for instance. You know, something, we need a central channeling thing rather than a lot of answer doing this, somebody else doing that. You know, a fractured, right now I think it's a fractured arrangement, which does not lend itself to a really structured way. Yeah.
We had that before, you know. The problem is politics, like elements. The politics is what killing us here in St. Kitts and Nevis and in the diaspora.
Well, but if it's a branch of government, it should not be politics.
No, I was a part of that process.
Why, for instance, the embassy or embassies can't spearhead efforts in that direction?
That is where I'm going with the conversation. I am trying to say to you, I was a part of that process some years ago. This lady, Kate Woodley, was at the mission at the time here in New York. And we was working between New York base and Washington to get something similar to what we call a yellow page for all our nationals around the globe. We started something. As a matter of fact, if I go as far as back as when Cedric Liebert was the Minister of Works, when he was elected, there was a hurricane that came through that messed up St. Kitts Nevis real bad. And as a friend, he reached out to me as a friend about coming home and assisting in restoring power, because St. Kitts was out of power so some 2 weeks, I think, at the time. And he reached out to me and asked if I will come home and assist with restoration of power. And I said to him, no problem. But I asked him a question where I think he take it negatively. My question was, I am here working in New York City for one of the largest union, one of the largest hospitals as an electrical engineer. I was the lead electrician. You are calling me as a minister of a government in my country and asking me to come and assist. I go to my supervisor and they said, no problem. It's an emergency, we can release you for a period. My next question to Cedric was, how many electrical contractors are electricians on the island of St. Kitts Nevis? And how many of them have volunteered to do what I am about to do? And he take it as a negative question. I think I was playing politics because those days, people accused me of being a PAM. Because once a government in office and you ask a question, you know you're the opposition. Right? And it was a straightforward question. I am willing to come home and make my contribution. The people that are living there that will benefit, how many of them have made a decision to do that? Anyway, eventually I got down to St. Kitts. And to my disappointment, you know, Ira, in America when we work with a lead electrician or a journeyman, which is the main person, and a helper. Any other workers would be called laborers, people who will dig holes or pull wires or whatever. But there's one mechanic that will do all terminations, and you got a helper that you would need to do whatever. That is how I work in North America over the years. We work in teams. I came down to St. Kitts, and there was a team of people in St. Paul's working down by the pump. We was trying to restore power down to the pump that pumped the water just below the ATM there in St. Paul's. And I'm not lying to you when I tell you 10 people was on that job. Only one person could go on a ladder at a time. So if it's only one mechanic can work at a time in terms of making connection, why you need 10 people in a crew? Waste of manpower, and I spoke about it. And eventually I left and I came back to New York because it was a waste of time to have that amount of people standing around in a queue when the entire country is crying out for help. So governments have a responsibility, right, to monitor these offices that they're paying people to do. And even today, I could walk around the street of St. Kitts Nevis and I see public works and other people doing their work. The crew, what are they doing? The people that are working in parks and beaches, I do not know if it's still happening today, but they go out to cut grass in the morning at maybe 7, 8 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, they're back by the shop drinking, but they're getting a full day's pay.
Well, those management issues, which I mean, I hope that somebody is looking into, okay, because it goes to the heart of the public getting value for money spent, okay, and the service and the proper service, okay. So I would hope that they would not sit down on those things, okay. But you know, I mentioned something on one of the talk shows this week when someone was complaining about things like attitudes and work ethic and those kinds of things. It got to be a culture, okay? And if the leadership culture does not present itself as an example, then you can expect that this would filter down throughout the organization. So it got to be that these kinds of things, and you know, people might say, well, you certainly can't expect, for instance, that the Prime Minister is going to be on the road making sure that the people who are supposed to be cutting the grass, right? That he might have a responsibility, overall responsibility, but that's not his direct. These people have supervisors, managers, etc. Okay, but the tolerance level have to come from the top. If nonsense, waste,
even in that area,
all of that,
even in that area, right?
Not tolerated at the top.
Even in that area, it's funny that you said that, because to me, these supervisors, they either do not know about safety, they don't care, because you have buses and other vehicles running on the street. And I know they used to have them before. When you have the operator operating the weed eater, you're supposed to have some workers holding the curtain that the stone don't fly and mash up anybody windshield.
They used to do that.
They used to do
I haven't
that.
seen them doing
When last you see that?
Not recently. They started it here. Really good practice. I don't know why it was discontinued. You know, I know exactly what you mean. I wince every time.
But that's a very serious situation that needs to be addressed.
Some stone could come in and not just crack your window, can fly in your eye. Next thing you have a lawsuit on your hand.
Correct.
You know.
But in St. Kitts you all don't sue like that, right?
Well, they don't. Not that they can, but they don't. They don't.
Anyway, I have another clip here to wrap up for the patch-up fella. He's saying some shit there in his program, too late for Dr. Joe. So let's take a listen and see what he's trying to accomplish with this one.
Too late, Dr. Joe, shall be your cry. Then he had the gall to take a photo. Use the opportunity to take a photo up at the graveside of Sotapley. Do you believe this, my Stray Dog family? It's hard to believe this. But all we can say, my Stray Dog family, all that is left to say to Dr. Drew is ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
So it appears that the patch-up fellow took issues with the ministers of government taking a
Poor
picture.
guy, the poor guy clutching at straws, man. I think he's running out of stuff, you know.
I just have to
So,
laugh. The Pacha fella took issues with a piece of history where the parliamentary representative took a picture at the Governor General grave. Now, who'll have to take more picture than this guy and the farmer have? They block off the streets wherever they go in St. Kitts, where there's a church service, are we able to take pictures? So what is wrong with the Prime Minister and his team taking a picture at the Governor General's grave?
Patches need a vacation, man. He needs to keep quiet sometimes. You know?
I think he need more than that, you know. I think he need to, we used to got some pop stick we used to use to tie up the foul foot when they break in St. Kitts Nevis. I think we need some stick to tie up his tongue. Then maybe he could pronounce the words properly and understand what he's talking because chatting shit.
I older than you. I don't know I don't know about popsicle stick using to tie up thing. How you get that do?
You didn't know that? Well,
How you get that?
Well, my grandmother was a surgeon for that, you know. Whenever they foul them foot break, my grandmother put the stick together and tie them up, and in a couple of days you see them back on track. They're doing good again. My grandmother was a serious veterinarian.
High science surgery, man.
High science veterinarian without any college education or whatever. So maybe we need to do that for the boy, Pacha.
Well, I love my old people, boy. You know the thing about them, they weren't as educated as us, right? But not a soul could have fooled them. You know, they knew exactly what they wanted. They know they wanted life to be better for the children, not as hard as they had it, and they worked towards it. And nobody, not just come from university, anybody could fool them, okay? They know who had their interests, and they went out and voted their interests.
I like what you said there, but why I'm going to disagree with that they weren't as educated as us, right? I have an uncle, he passed away now, Arlington. Arlington used to say to me, Jeffroy, everybody could read a Bible. Everybody could read a book. Why do you think they go to university and college? You still learn to thief and brainwash you, you know?
Well,
you know?
It ain't as cynical as that. I wouldn't be.
I know, but I am just saying it was just a pastime of a conversation, and I laugh about it because people might say that there wasn't as smart of us today. The problem that they did not have the luxuries that we had today. Because I can tell you, Ira, today, if I have a pain in my foot or in my tummy, I go to the doctor, it costs me a piece of money. And they gave me a prescription and I got to go and take this prescription. And maybe by the time I finish taking the 5 days or whatever days they tell me to take, that is another problem with my system because my kidney or my liver, whatever, is affected. But growing up in St. Paul's, when I got a tummy ache or a boil or whatever, and my grandmother sent me to the garden, in a matter of minutes, I'm sweating out whatever that bush did to my body, and I feeling much better, ready to go again. So they might have went to university, but they had the knowledge of what is required to heal the body. You know what is Jack Spanner bush?
Yeah, of course.
What you used to do with Jack Spanner bush?
Yeah, I mean bread and cheese.
No, there's a difference. Jack Spanner bush.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what is Jack Spanner bush?
I guess I don't then.
Okay, Jack Spanner bush is one that they used to heat it over a battle lamp or over the fire and put the Vaseline and Epsom salts when you got a boil and put it on you, and next thing everything come out, dry it up. You're good again to go.
All right. Yeah, hopefully somebody document those kinds of remedies. Just like how Dr. Whitaker, have books on. I ran into him the other day on plants, medicinal plants, medicinal plants. Somebody can probably write something on these homemade remedies, so to speak. The only problem I have is that when you look at our life expectancy, It has been rising. It has been going upwards. Okay, so as good as they might have been, they're not better than current. Okay, of course, there are the things that go into life expectancy, but
you mentioned bread and
I would
cheese.
not the modern things.
You mentioned bread and cheese. You used to eat that?
No, I never used to eat it, but I know people used to.
Well, I used to eat it, and sometimes that's all I had to eat and drink some water and go back to school. Eh?
Really?
Yeah.
Serious?
Seriously.
Okay.
So people does not understand the struggles that we went through, and even pigeon peas. You ever eat that raw?
Oh yeah, of course, raw. Yeah.
So you had some of my lifetime, even though you're older than me, you had a little bit.
But of course, of course. But I mean, the thing about back then, remember the development of the middle class is a fairly recent thing, Back then, when I was small, everybody, people were either rich or poor. Most people were poor, okay? Very few people were rich. It's only afterwards this new middle class thing started creeping in, okay? So all of us at one time or the other would have been exposed to those kinds of struggles, those kinds of hardship, okay? And so we can certainly compare life then with now. And that's why we can say that boy, we may grumble and groan and complain, but compared to back then, these people have it good.
Back then was better in our era. Back then for me was better. People like now. I don't care for now. Two things I like about back then, and I hope that my online viewership don't kill me for this. But I used to go and like to watch netball. It wasn't about the lady shooting the ball in the hoop, It's when they jump up and the little skirt go up, you see the panties. That was fun. Today, they're wearing tights or short pants, so you're not seeing nothing. And going to school in St. Paul's, we used to basically put a little mirror on our foot to see what color panty the teacher or whoever have on, and we have it as a joke. Today is nothing to see. And people pulling gun and shooting and drugs and this and that. So the fun that we had. You
were a decadent fella in your time, boy.
Man, I was before my time in IRA. I was very creative before my time, and I was before my time. I had some good days. School days was happy days for me in St. Kitts Nevis. So you want to tell me you never did them thing there?
Huh?
You never did those things?
No, man. I was a model child.
Okay, so you was the pastor's son.
Yeah.
Let's listen to Patches then, because Patches and me is the same thing when it comes to school days. He was a bad boy in school too.
Those are my
I always remember
observations.
Real conceited fellow, man.
We're not just conceited, but there are some things I would not say tonight about him. I'm waiting for him because he believed he could dirty people's name and chat a lot of nonsense. But I got my receipts them. So let's take a listen.
You for tonight, my Street Dog family. But this is the the demon we are dealing with, called the Prime Minister. And this leads me nicely.
I'm going to move on from that because it's okay for this gentleman to call our esteemed Prime Minister a demon. But it's a problem for me to speak about our former hag. It's a problem for Curtis to call him a big stone. But it's okay for them to call our Prime Minister a demon, and everybody is happy.
Yeah, he on some kind of crusade to demonize Dr. Joe. I don't know. I'm not sure what he's trying to do, to be quite honest. Right? And on whose behalf? Who do you think he's working for? Well, what do you think he's trying to do?
Well, I am of the view, based on the little information that I have. This gentleman hand is in the cookie jar in so many different areas that he's trying to throw a small screen out there to get the attention from them. A lot of things that transpired in the last administration. As a matter of fact, I wonder if I could find this clip, because Douglas could answer the question for you, you know. Douglas had sent a recording here that I think would just answer the question, because Douglas tell me all of them are, you know. He said that the Labour Party have done everything for that hug. Take a listen.
Every single one of them, all of them are hypocrites, parasites, ungratefulness. And the last one I want to bring into that group is Ian Patches Libod. The Labour Party did everything to help that hog.
That answer your question?
Well, who you blaming?
Well, I could go a little further, you know. Let me see if this one answer your question.
Who you blaming?
Wait a minute there.
Is they tolerated?
So this nonsense about they want to form unity, it is something that was there in them because they grudge and they hate Douglas. I grudge the grudge. The ungrateful. They don't suck off Labour breasts. No wonder they call them hogs.
So the minor, if you listen to you say like old people, I grew up with old people, and the mind of someone destroy them. They destroy themselves while trying to destroy you. The hatred for Joe, I don't think many of them had the confidence in Dr. Joe. Remember, the farmer had said that Dr. Joe was in the gallery at Parliament, and that's where he will be. He would never come into government. I don't know if you remember that statement.
Yeah.
Well, they tried everything in 2020 to ensure that Dr. Joe did not win his seat, even though he wanted to. It's a surprise to many people that Dr. Joe is the position as Prime Minister. And for those who want to forget the fight, I remember the fight that I got when I decided to support Dr. Joe for the leadership of the Labour Party, because I realized that that was the only road to victory for the Labour Party is through Dr. Joe. They already demonized Dr. Douglas.
Yeah.
And a lot of things we find out now.
So you're thinking that Patches is using demonize 2.0.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's up to us whether we want to allow that tactic to work again, or keep our eyes wide open and pay close attention. Because yes, Dr. Joe might not be doing certain things the way that we would want it, but we elect him as Prime Minister, and his vision is what he have to work with. We can speak and give guidance and show whatever, and yes, we expect him to listen. But Ira, if you leave Bass State to go to St. Paul's and I decide I want you to drive Sandy Point Way, and you're going to tell me no, you want to go Kearn side, but you're taking me St. Paul's, what am I supposed to do? That was a question.
That was a rhetorical one.
No, I want to answer to it. I am going to St. Paul's. I want to ride to St. Paul's. I asked you for a ride. There is two ways of getting me to St. Paul's. I want you to drive Sandy Point side, but you decide you want to drive Kearn. But I want the ride. What am I supposed to do?
Well, you got to go with the driver by.
I got to give you the opportunity.
Is he driving?
You are the driver. I have to give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, if in the process of going to St. Paul's, we run into a roadblock or an accident, I could pick on you as much as I want, because maybe I want to say, well, no, if we had gone the other way, we wouldn't have got into an accident or run into a roadblock. But the roadblock could be on any side of the island. And we are not dumb. We know what the problem was. You
know what though? And again, this go back to the old people, right? Somehow, those old folks had vision and commitment and competence, all those good things, right? That's why we were able to progress, right? So I expect that our leaders of today will have the same, right? Especially labor leaders, okay? Because it is one thing that distinguishes the Labour Party from the other parties, the SKNLP from the other parties, is the high caliber of leadership to which it is accustomed, okay? And I expect that Dr. Ju will fit into that mold as well, all right? I mean, there's no pedigree like the Labour Party when it comes to leadership, right? And it shows. You think of all the major accomplishments that we've had over the years, all the monumental changes that we've done, that we've had. It's usually under a Labour government, Labour leadership. I'm not saying that on the other parties you didn't have progress. Of course you did. But I'm talking about the monumental changes that happened. All have the fingerprints of Labour on it. And a big part of that is the kind of leadership it brought to the table. Whether it's the strong, and some people might say autocratic style of a Robert Bradshaw, or the humility of a France, you know, the intellect of a Bryan and Southwell. You call them, and similarly, you can say the same thing about Douglas. Lots of smarts, okay? I mean, what he did to the CBI, for instance, which is still one of our pillars, okay? I mean, no other, we had the CBI from before, but I heard someone said today, somebody said today, it was essentially a one-man show.
Dwyer.
Okay.
Your computer look like it's running away from you. Your face gone to the end of the screen.
It's probably me, yeah. I just reclined a bit. Yeah. So you know, when you look at those things, you realize that no other party has the pedigree of the Labour Party. And so that is why I said there's high expectations that the Labour Party has to succeed. It's not, yes, they can stumble, right? But we don't expect the kind of stumbling like what when parties in the other countries lose, let's say like in Antigua, where they really mess up badly, right? We've never, like I said, we've never lost elections here, and things like the economy is not buoyant or the government don't know what it's doing. It's usually some other factor, like either corruption or arrogance and that kind of thing stepping in, you know, or in some cases, people might say 15 years is enough,
right,
or 20 years is enough. You know, let's try a change. You know,
but realistically, pound for pound, you know, Ira, pound for pound, the current administration is way ahead. They're punching way above the weight than the previous administration. And this is why I am saying that the constant fake news and the negative pounding that the patch-up fella and these guys coming with, they're not doing the Labour Party anything, you know. The outside world are looking in, they're putting the country in a mess. See what happened to Dominica and that passport business there, the CBI. The people are listening and they're talking about crime wave this and crime wave that. The things that happening with crime in the Federation have nothing to do with government, you know. The killing that just took place last Wednesday in St. Paul's is people choose to do stupidness to each other which the government have no control over. These guns did not came into St. Kitts a year ago or 2 years ago. They was there all along.
You're right. But at the same time, we don't want to go back to that statement, which was, I think, was one of the mistakes, call them faux pas, of the administration then, where the Prime Minister said he's not taking any responsibility for crime, right? If you're elected to lead, you gotta lead. And in leading, you have to solve problems.
You're losing, okay? You're losing your face again in the computer. Let's put something here, Ira. Let me put it out there like this. The same night of the murder last Wednesday, while I was live on screen, I got the message came in about the killing in St. Paul's, right? And there's people there in St. Paul's on the ground knew what transpired. I did not know that there was a robbery in St. Paul's until after the murder. But apparently, there's a place where folks hang out down in the place we call the ghetto. I used to hang out down there as a little boy. That's what got me my trip out of St. Kitts. My grandmother decided she's not gonna have a grandson hanging out in the ghetto. So my mother took me out of St. Kitts. Now, apparently, there was some robbery that took place down there. And there was some retaliation to that robbery. What control does the Minister of Governments have to do with that? Or the police, if things does not get to them, or even if things get to them?
You know the expression, the buck stops here?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I said earlier. I don't expect a minister to be going out to make sure that the cleaners do the job. Okay. I don't expect the National Security Minister to be patrolling with the police, right? But if people don't do their job, if things get out of control, who is gonna get the blame? Who should get the blame?
I like that question. Not who gonna get the blame. Who should get the blame?
Okay, who should get the blame?
Now, this particular situation, Nevis, our sister island, is 2 miles from Bastia, across the waters from the closest point, right? St. Paul's is 14 miles from Bastia and the same island of St. Kitts, sorry. 2 people from Nevis was charged with the robbery in St. Paul's, 14 miles away. What are we coming to in our beloved federation? When you're gonna tell me that 2 individuals gonna leave from Nevis to come 14 miles away in St. Paul's to rob some people? I am of the view that they must be connected to somebody in that area to pull off that job.
Well, I wouldn't get bogged down in detail. All I'm saying is...
Yeah, but I am giving you the details.
No.
The question I'm asking, in my view, I'm trying to make a statement.
Yeah.
2 people is charged with a crime from Nevis that took place in St. Paul's.
Right.
I am of the view that those 2 people, if they are guilty of that charge, that they came down from Nevis and robbed those people in St. Paul's, they have to have some kind of contact in St. Paul's to be able to pull off that job, or to even know where.
I wouldn't necessarily draw that conclusion, because something I noticed.
Let me make my statement, and then maybe you could answer what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I am saying that those people must have some contact with someone in St. Paul's to know where this place is for that to take place. Are you telling me the contact they have in St. Paul's is a minister of government or the police that tell them where to go to find this place? That was my question. That was my point. We're blaming the government for the crime. That is crime. We're gonna blame on the government. Somebody got killing St. Paul's over incident.
First of all, one thing I've noticed about the crimes that take place here, we have got to have some of the smartest criminals around because nobody catching them. The success rate in catching our criminals is relatively low, certainly compared to a place like the States, right?
You understand where I was going with my statement?
I know what you're saying. No. We're gonna get to the accountability part of it, right? What I'm saying is, right, what you described here might well have been a crime of opportunity, so to speak, right? We have more interaction between the islands, right? Some criminal mind might get up and decide, well, let's go rob there. They hardly think that is we people from Nevis do it, okay? You know, so people not gonna think that way, and therefore let's pull off this crime of opportunity. That may be their thinking, and that is why law enforcement have to be a step ahead and get into their head and decide and try to psychoanalyze them in order to solve these crimes, right? What I am saying to you, right, is that just like when we say, am I better off now than I was before? It may have been because of something I did, not something that the government did. But you're going to blame the government. That is my point.
Yeah, but
because the government is overall responsible, has overall responsibility for the atmosphere in the country, the progress of the country, or economic development, or social development, everything. Okay, and you can't run away from it. I mean, you might try to make excuses. Well, of course, Dr. Joe ain't sent nobody to commit a crime, right? As National Security Minister. Neither the police, okay? But if the crime still happens, the blame should go straight to the criminal, first of all. But for not catching them or for creating the criminal mind, who are you going to blame? A whole lot of blame to go around. And ultimately, like I said, the expression is the buck stops at the leadership.
Yeah, and
it sounds harsh. You might like it, but you know, as having been in charge of the electrical systems at the hospital with people working under you, if things don't go right, they come in for you.
Well, correctly.
You know that.
Rightfully so. But
exactly. Even though you did not perpetrate the act of whatever mistake, whatever blooper somebody under you did, they come in for your head. That is how accountability works.
Correct. But I want us to come back to the point. You said you made a statement, and I was trying to satisfy your statement when you said that we must have some very creative criminals in the Federation. And I was trying to say to you, yes, at all levels. I was not trying to justify or make an excuse. I was trying to make your point that we have criminals, successful criminals, all are left to try to beat the system. And we start with the politicians, the ministers, the lawyers, the doctors. St. Kitts Nevis, whether we want to accept it or not, is a criminal society. Has been for the last 7 years under the previous administration, and I'm not going to run from it. And who do not like it is their problem. And I'm going to tell you something more, brother Ira. I'm going to drop 2 clips here to satisfy my statement, because I was referred to a gentleman by the name of Abdiel Samuels when I came back to St. Kitts in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. I wanted to stay in my property in St. Paul's, and I wasn't given that opportunity. I had to go into quarantine because somebody have to make money off the whole deal. And during my campaign to right a wrong, I remember Abdel Samuel saying, and it's people like me he were cussing, that we are criticizing them for doing a voluntary job. They're not being paid nothing extra. But the same people, criminal elements, the former Hag and his cabinet of ministers, including the Team Unity Concussion, People's Action Movement led by Sean Richards, the CCM led by Baby Brantley, they came together in January of 2022 and swindled the country of over $300,000 to split amongst themselves. Let me play the clip that you would understand where I'm coming from. So when I'm speaking, I am not making excuse for Dr. Joe or for the Labour Party. I am dealing with the reality that we have. The problem is that, like Dwyer said last week,
you call it, listen, you call it swindling. You know, you gotta be careful when you use those words.
What is the definition of swindling?
Huh?
What is the definition of swindling? Listen to the clip, then you correct me with my statement. Listen to the clip first. Listen to the clip and let's start.
Who is taking care of a bedridden, ill mother, and you know, to be here every day serving the general public, we ain't getting an extra cent, we ain't getting nothing, just for the sake of service to country. I think that's highly commendable. You cannot want a sacrifice like that from any human being in any country. So I really want to highlight their sacrifice and contribution to our response.
Okay, so that was Abdiel Samuel's statement.
That was before or after the honorarium?
That was before.
Okay.
Right? That was before the honorarium. And then the honorarium came. Right? And when the honorarium came, the Honorable Wendy Phipps made it clear in her statement that the honorarium was done in secret in January. When you're talking about doing negotiation to pay yourself money in secret, when you already come to the country and say you're volunteering, I call it swindling. If you got a better word to give me,
well, hold
give it
on.
to me.
But you don't have a problem with paying an honorarium, do you?
Pardon. So I'll tell you something.
It's a secrecy that you did.
It's a secrecy I got a problem with.
Like.
The secrecy.
Right.
The secrecy.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that was the problem, because so many other people made sacrifices.
And the problem is
why you select that group. That is what I had a problem with. Not the concept of an honorarium, not the concept of an honorarium.
No.
Okay.
The secrecy that went on throughout the 7 years in that administration, where everybody is looking out for themselves, not for the island of St. Kitts and Nevis, and not for its people. So let's listen to the secrecy part of it. And these people, if they wasn't fighting amongst themselves, when the famous 6 got terminated, we would have never known about this the secret deal.
On the 10th of January, every single cabinet member, save for the Honorable Attorney General, was present at cabinet. When that agenda item came up for that meeting, and I recognized that it was going to be the next item for discussion, I recused myself from the cabinet meeting because I knew that in addition to the persons who were being proposed for an honorarium, the names of Vincent Byron and Wendy Phipps were on that list. And it was the appropriate thing to have done to exit the room so that I do not influence a discussion in which the outcome would more than likely see me being a beneficiary for an honorarium. After the matter had been discussed for about 15 minutes, I was called back to the cabinet room and we joined the meeting. And at that point, I would have been informed of the cabinet's decision. By the 21st of January, acting on the instruction of the Cabinet Secretary, who would, according to her practice, send the Cabinet decision of that nature to the Office of the Financial Secretary, the payments were made to the members of the task force. The payments were done rather discreetly, right in this very building, on Friday, the 21st of January, with a senior official from the Ministry of Finance being present to present and to have signed for them the same beneficiaries who were asked to walk with an ID. Now, as I said, that was January 21st. February 21st came, no leaking of anything. March 21st came, no leaking of anything. April 21st came, no leaking of anything. And now we are down to the 31st of May. And yesterday that happened. I do not want to surmise or to second guess or to try to figure out who did what and why. But what I do know is that cabinet documents are privileged documents. People who sit in a cabinet have to take an oath of office before you can assume any type of role in the cabinet. What was done yesterday, and to a certain extent I can only say that it was done in retaliation for my statements last Friday, because the graphic that I saw only had one person's picture on it, and it was mine. But my position is that if you want to take issue with a minister of government over a payment that that minister of government receives, you have no business whatsoever compromising senior civil servants in that process. What I saw yesterday had all of the names of all of the beneficiaries, plain as day, and I do not know what was the aim of all of that. Nobody on the task force stole any money. Nobody on the task force begged to have an honorarium, but they were duly presented with an honorarium. This type of information being circulated on social media doesn't help anybody. And what it does is engender further distrust in terms of your access to government, especially when matters have to come before the cabinet. So the average person might be out there wondering right now, what happens to me if, for example, like the example I gave you earlier, of 44 businesses applying to the Ministry of Trade for relief, for fiscal relief, to get their businesses up and running or to relieve some of their operational cost. What is to happen to those who are still in the process of sending in their applications? Are they supposed to now feel threatened or afraid at being exposed even to their competitors, for example, which is serious, that something as simple and which is their entitlement to access as an application for fiscal incentives in the past might very well find itself on social media. So I think sometimes when we do these things, the person or persons who are responsible, we need to take time and think about the implications for everybody. And I will end on that note, and I will pray that as we move forward, we would recognize that social media serves a good, but it also has its bad sides. But let us continue to try to use it for the good that we can get out of it. We are a people who have come very far, and for what I have just explained, it really sinks to a new low, and we need to do better as a country. I thank you.
So, Ira, my issue at the time, the problem with us, we as Kitishan Division, we are somewhat prepared to hold each other as citizens in our hearts for the rest of our life, for God knows what you think somebody might have done to you. But we are very forgiving with these wicked, thieving, crooked politicians. We forget very quickly what they have done to the country. Keep in mind, when these people talking about honorarium secretly in cabinet, there were many citizens that has lost their job. Curtis Cook and those guys, I think was some 40-something of them lose a job from Tennessee.
It was a travesty. It was a travesty.
And
but
wasn't getting
honest,
any aid, wasn't getting any help. So when I hear this nonsense, I cannot justify it.
It was a travesty, I know.
You know,
yes,
I cannot justify it.
It was a travesty, yes. But look at it this way. They paid for it. They paid for it.
They paid for it how?
They lost the election. All that contributed to
Ira, There's still 3 people from that cabinet still in Nevis and mash up Nevis government and mash up the island of Nevis. They not pay for it. We got unfinished business.
Well, those 3 ain't pay for it.
Well,
right?
we have unfinished business, and guess what? Still today.
It's up to the
Let me calm down myself with this song. Stand by a minute. Poor man, I feel it all the time.
Find a solution to this pollution. Oh, oh, oh. Got to find a solution to this pollution. Yeah. Got to find a solution to this pollution. Oh, gotta find a solution to this pollution. The poor man I feel it. Oh,
every time.
The poor man I feel it, yeah. The poor man I feel it, oh. The poor man feel it, yeah. Gas gone up, bus fare gone up, rent gone up, phone bill gone up, light bill gone up, tax gone up, car parts gone up, and we can't take the fuss, no. And there has got to be a solution to this pollution, yeah. Gotta find a solution to this pollution. We're growing, gotta find a solution to this pollution. Whoa, 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 whoa. Gotta find a solution to this pollution. Only the poor man I feel it, yeah. The poor man I feel it, oh. The poor man feel it, I know. Only him feel it, yeah.
Only the thing is Nevis Spirit right about now.
Time gone up, scallion gone up, onion gone up, red beans gone up, black pepper gone up, chicken gone up, and the parents them angry, cause the picnic them hungry, and there has got to be a solution to this your pollution. Right now, yeah. Got to find a solution to this pollution. Promises won't help. You got to find a solution to this pollution. We've been waiting for a solution to this pollution. Only the poor man I feel it, yeah. Only them I feel it, oh. Only the poor man I feel it, yeah. Only him I feel, oh. Only the poor man I feel it every time. Only the poor man feel it, yeah. Only the poor man I feel it, yeah.
Calm down now.
You know something about the Ira?
Yeah.
These songs here was created some 40 plus years ago. And we live in them today. We live in them today. And this is why when I think about the people that are being charged with the taking care of our people in this country are being paid for their criminal activities while out there locking up.
The more things change, the more they remain the same. But you know, you can't get too pessimistic, right? At least you're seeing steps in changing the system towards improvement. Okay, I'm hoping that when Garth finishes his suite of things in the good for the good governance agenda, yes, things will still happen, but not to the extent, not to the scale that they have happened in the past. That's the hope. Okay, because as long as you have politicians, people aspiring to be politicians who are unscrupulous, who are greedy. Unfortunately, some of them can also give a good talk and can talk the talk. And so they fool some of the people. But you know the song too. You can fool some of the people sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Okay.
But
So,
you know the song there is not as good as the other one.
Which one?
You know, fool die for want of wisdom is a more appropriate song for me. And you know what? I want to drop that track and give you a chance to do your closing because I just realized it's 9 o'clock in Iowa.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I didn't realize the time running so late, you know, partner. So let me drop that track and give you a chance for your closing because fool die for want of wisdom. Yeah, man. St. Kitts Nevis. Wake up. Nevis massive. Let us stand up to baby Brantley, you know, and his team over there.
The lips of the righteous teaches many, but fools die for want of wisdom. The rich man's wealth is in the city, fixation of the soul is vanity. Destruction of the poor is their poverty. The poor man's wealth is in a holy place. Why do you fight each other? Why do you kill your brother? Then your reward will be the cemetery. got to build a better nation. Clean up Jah creation, or there will be no future for you and me. The lips of the righteous, it teaches many, but fools die for want of wisdom. The rich man's wealth is in the city. Vexation of the soul is vanity. Ooh. Destruction of poor people is poverty. The poor man's wealth is in a holy place.
Yeah, brother Ira, back in the days, criminals used to wait until in the night to thief. The thief hiding now. Crime used to happen in the dark. They happen wide open now. Politician used to take a little and hide. Now their hand is in the cookie jar, wide open, we can see, and they don't care. Why?
Well, the struggle continues. Huh? We often think that we change one or we catch one, but next one prop up. Okay, so the struggle continues. And so it's really good to have people like you who will bring the struggle to the people, so to speak. You know, bring all the happenings to the people, comment on them, point them out, because generally speaking, you know, most people don't have time for this. They're too busy going through life, trying to eke out a living, that they're not going to pay attention to these issues that you bring. And that is why what you do is so important, because somebody has to do it. right? It's not a particularly pleasant job, but somebody got to do it. Otherwise, they will get away with it, right? And so it was good to be here, as usual. I know you're taking the Premier to task still, okay? I suspect that, you know, he will eventually, and actually I think it's getting to him in the sense that you can see a change in his confidence level. He's not as, he's definitely not the old Brantley, braggadocio and so on anymore, right? He got a solid dose or something, which kind of hush him up a bit. But you could bet your life that he's gonna want to, he's still there scheming and plotting to stay in power, okay? I think he has long overstayed his welcome, and it's really time for him to leave. If I were he, I would exit gracefully rather than be pushed out. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next election cycle, to see if he'll actually run, because I don't think he'll run if he knows he's going to lose. And right now, the writing on the wall not looking good for him. And with people like you stoking the fire, you can expect that he's gonna be, you're gonna have a tough time. I know he's gonna have a tough time. Okay, so keep on doing what you're doing. That definitely is unfinished business. You might be going against the conventional wisdom that the Prime Minister, for instance, indicated today. He likes to have a kumbaya with people like him. You know, and kumbaya is good, you know, but with some people, you could bet your life there's a dagger behind there somewhere, right? You just don't trust them. Not having had a record like what they've had. So we'll see how that goes. You know, but keep up the good work, and you know, hopefully sometime in the future I'll join you. The anniversary is coming up. I suppose that you're going to have a lot to say about that. And hopefully, you know, we all hope that things will get better in the future. I mean, all of us have to be optimistic, right? We definitely can't go through these constant cycles or, you know, the kind of things that you've been talking about, the kind of wrongdoings and so on that you've been talking about. It got to get better, right? I think this government is going to try to make it better, all right? We just have to make sure that they don't get complacent, they don't relax, they don't forget how they got there and why they were put there. And you, as well as all of the others who are in the struggle, will definitely have to keep the feet to the fire to make sure, keep on the straight and narrow. So good night, and see you till next time, whenever that is. You know, it's really good being here.
I'm happy to have you, Ira. And the honest truth is, next week I'll be having follow-up chat with those folks out of Nevis. I choose to hold back the clip from the Untarget for today, because I realize I'm running in overtime, and I'm going to see if I could get those guys from Nevis to join me next week. But the following week, which is the 9th of August.
On Target? You're going to use on Target or the other one?
I have On Target and Tell Me, both of them.
On Target, right. Oh, you have both, okay.
Both of them is the same thing. Same conversation. Like I said, the concerns about Nevis is basically constant. It's about the affairs of Nevis, what is taking place there, what is not being done. and stuff like that. So we need to follow up with that.
Yeah. Those are hard-hitting programs, you know. Those.
Yeah. And I wanted to continue hitting because the realities are what they are. I also have upcoming will be Patricia Bartlett, the Honorable Janice Daniel Hodge, the Prime Minister is due to return, the AG is due to return. But before I even have those people, I would prefer to have our committee. You remember that we had a group of us throughout the Get Rid of Them campaign that was brainstorming about certain things and what is right for the country and stuff like that. I really would like to get us together on the 9th of August if everybody is available. If everybody is not available, who is available? People like yourself, Sam Conda, Dwyer Astafan, Larry Vaughan, The Big Lice, Douglas Watley, Dwyer Astafan, I think I said that before. The group of us that was there in the struggle for those days, such as a weekend like this. Remember, this time last year I was on the ground in St. Kitts, election was around the corner. We was hard at work. And I would like to get their input and assessment, not because we are cussing the government or criticizing the government, but to just get a handle on where we are today and what we would like to see moving forward. Because, like I said, the conversation on the ground in St. Kitts and Nevis, they're real. No matter how we might not like what we're hearing, the conversations are real.
Yeah.
And we must deal with them. If we care about our beloved federation, and if we support the Labour Party and want to see the Labour Party do good, you have to be real about what is happening. Because at the end of the day, if we, this small group of us, come out here every week and hey, Dr. Joe, you're doing well, nice job, Labour, you're doing good, nice job. And then we know within ourselves that there need for improvement. Election call a couple of months or a couple of years from now, and the majority of the people in the Federation say, hey, we wasn't satisfied with you all, so you all got to go. You think the 6 or 8 of us that was out there chatting shit on social media could change the minds of those people in a short space of time to turn around that? The time to deal with the people is now, not 4 years from now. And if the Labour administration want to make it look like they're doing something for the federal government and for the people of St. Kitts Nevis, one of the things they need to really get on the agenda and get it fast is to deal with issues at the electoral office. That is what we campaign on. That is a problem that the Labour in opposition had a big problem with. And for them not to deal with it before December 12th of 2022 was basically, for me, a disappointment. And if Sam Conda did not came out on the eve of the election and spoke about the Electoral Commission was not properly constituted, I would not even have known that.
Yeah.
So the ball was dropped, and it's all about the love, Brother Ira. It's all about the love. And it's a pleasure having you. I'm going to drop this track for you on the way out.
Sure.
Say hi to the wife for me.
That's what your friends will do. That's what they will do. Your best friends, that's what they will do. That's what they will do. They will come with great pretense to gain your confidence. They'll take you round the bend and fry you in the end. And I know that's what your friends will do. Your good friends, yeah, that's what they will do. I don't trust them 'cause I know that's what they will do. That's what they will do. They will look right into your eyes and tell you the wickedest lies, make you promises that never accomplishes. And I know that's what they will do. Your what they will do. They will dress up in your clothes and punch you in your nose, dress up in your shoes and still carry false news. And I know that's what they will do. That's what they will do. I know that's what they will do. They will do. They will do. That's what your friends will do.
Yes, it is great. Keep the touch. That's what your friends will do. Mislead you. Thank you, Stevens. The struggle continues.
That's what your friends will do. That's what they will do. Don't trust them, cause that's what they will do. Ooh, that's what they will do. They will know that you in jail, never try to get you paid. Know that you in trouble and try to make it double. I say, that's what your friends will do. Your good, good friends, that's what they will do. Ooh, that's what they will do. Ooh, that's what they will do. They will steal your only goat and then them cut him throat. If you ever wrong, come back for your car. And I know that's what they will do. They will do, they will do, they will do. That's what they will do. Your best friend, I say, that's what he will do. You'll be surprised to know that's what they will do. Ooh, that's what they will do. They will do. Smile in your face, yeah, yeah. Stab you in your back. They will do. They will do. Don't you trust them? They will do. They will do. They will do. That's what your friends.
Yeah, that's what your friends will do. They will mislead you, tell you all kind of things that they know is wrong. But like my grandfather used to say, when they don't get you into trouble, they run, they can't save your backside. So just do the right thing that you know is right. I want to say good night to my brother there, the man Shabby Dan. How you doing? Over there in the St. Paul's area. How about the man Sassio? Everything good? Want to big up my brother Carbo over there in the Fountain area. I realize that the goat water doing some serious damage there these past weekends. I look forward to my opportunity to come back to Fountain. So Carbo, if you're listening, make sure you drop the address and phone number in the thread there. I want to big up my girl there, Sister Rosita Pontin. How are you doing? I have not heard any update on your nephew, whether the funeral has taken place already or not. If not, I know you guys had a GoFundMe setup going. Drop the link in the thread so that you can get some support from your online viewership. I want to big up my engineer, the man Ike. Continue to do a very good job keeping me in line. Appreciate him for that. My brother there, Elvan Ellie. How are you doing, my brother? Hope all is well. And brother Alvin Brown, how are you doing? Hope all is well with you. Want to touch my uncle there, you know. Garvey's estate there, Boys Village St. Kitts. How are you doing, Uncle Joseph? Don't forget, if you're looking for any place to have your parties, weddings, just want to have some pictures taken and have a good night rest at a different location, check out Uncle Joseph there. He have a lovely place there in Garvey's overlooking the ocean. Just check Uncle Joseph and tell him DJ Morrishaw sent you. You know, his phone number there is 869-668-1392. That's 869-668-1392 to check out Uncle Joseph. Also check my cousin there, Gloria Hutchinson at Smart Fit. If you're looking for some nice dandan, you want to hang out, you have kids' clothes, adults, check out Gloria there at Smart Fit on Cairn Streets and Kids, right off 4th Street. There's a new location, the main location there at the old Simaco building on Central Street, Bastille, right opposite Skelec. Just check Gloria out, tell her DJ Morrishaw sent you. Her number is 662-7141. That's 662-7141, area code 869. And my boy over there in the Frigate Bay area, the man, Michael Clark at the Jamrock restaurant. Lovely food, lovely entertainment. Check out my boy, Michael, over there, Jamrock. Check out my boy, Marshall's in Frigate Bay as well, up the hill. Lovely food. Don't forget my boys down there in Old Road, the Spratnet. My boy, Gijo's on Station Street, Old Road. Also, don't forget to check out my boy, Body Slam. The man Body there for his weekend bullfoot chicken soup, cold water and stuff right there off Main Road there, right next to the Felix there in Newton Ground. I also want to big up my boy, Brother Powell, aka Island Purified Water in St. Kitts. My folks that keep me hydrated when I'm in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. So continue to support the man Scatter, Mr. Powell, and those folks stay in St. Kitts. I want to big up my boy Shama Bakery there in St. Paul's, the man Ninky, my cousin there, Brother Twinkie, Brother Craig, Catherine Morris, and Louis Morris. Good afternoon. My brother Mole there, how are you doing? My cousin, the man Ingla Francis, Beverly Hutchinson, the man Theo Clark, Giles Clark, how are you doing? Sister Mem, how are you doing? I hope you guys are doing all right there. Also, want to big up my boy there, Carl Morris, brother Carl Morris there in St. Thomas. How are you doing? Sister Valencia Morris, the man Sour, Avan Brown, Sister Patsy Brown, Tadu, how are you doing? How all is well with you guys? Want to big up man Ralph, my favorite cousin there in St. Thomas, Sister Natalie Carty. Hope all is well. How is Caroline doing? My cousin there, Kent Bernier. How about Sister Pam? Hope all is well with you guys. The man Dennis Morris. Sister Leah Francis. The man, Brother Rodney Francis. Hope all is well. Officer Hendrickson, how are you doing? Hope all is well with you. The Dancing Commissioner, Brother Austin Williams. I want to thank you for your contribution to that young man there from St. Paul's with the donation of a cricket bag. I also want to big up Sister Laura Williams. Don't forget you could check Laura there at the TDC Mall, 4th Street St. Kitts as well for your clothing's need. All is well. We're going to drop the final track here in a bit. This one is called Arise by the late great The King Arrow, my unofficial anthem of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. Want to bring up Brother Lord Ken and Sister Debbie there in the Harlem area. Hope all is well with you. Sister Cora Bennett. Just want to touch all online viewers. Kind of busy this evening, couldn't really get around to calling out so many of you. We'll try to do better as the weeks progress. I want to thank you for your continued support in everything that we do. You know, this weekend is our bus ride there to Foxwood. So we'll be hanging out in Foxwood this weekend. Look forward to hanging with the crew. Sister Hazel Claxton, the man Felix, Annette Morton and crew. Look forward to you guys joining and having the experience. Sister and family Sprit and crew. We're gonna have a good time. So we drop this track by the late great King of Arrow. I want to big up my son there, JefroyMorrishaw Jr. over there in the LA area, Sister Jazz, my sister Esther Mokish, and the kids there in Tortola. Hope all is well with you guys. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
masses building a wall so massive or a bridge, don't care how small, as one tends to divide our people, the other unite us all. Unambitious men just cannot be a part of this community. Displaying selfishness, a total lack of interest. No, I said no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in this harmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother cannot love each other. No, I say no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, man, the sounds of the late great King Arrow. Arise, my people, this country is yours, all yours, still yours. You know, as we close out the evening, I just want to say a special good evening to our sitting parliamentarians there, the ministers in cabinet. I want to say a thank you, a big thank you to the Honorable Dr. Terence Joe on this day, this 1-year anniversary of nomination day. I said it that day, nomination day, I was recorded up at your headquarters in St. Peter's by a young lady who was a news reporter. Sister Precious asked me, can I give a little voice to the support of the Honorable Dr. Terence Joe. And I remember giving my position that if our country to move forward and to change the corrupt behavior that was taking place, we needed to give the Honorable Dr. Terence Joe the opportunity to be Prime Minister. And today, the anniversary of that speech, I can say, I have no regret making that plea to you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for giving Dr. Joe and his team the opportunity to lead the country this far. I know there is a lot still to be done, but I want to thank them for the work that they have done. And I look forward to what to come, because I know what's to come is going to be even much more progressive, more positive for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I have no problem with you, the folks that are demanding more from the government. That is your right to demand more. But we know that a 1 gallon bottle could only hold 1 gallon. It cannot take 2, 3, 4 gallons. So we got to keep filling up those 1 gallon bottles until we get enough water in the country. The problem with the water did not start a year ago. It did not start 2 years ago. That has been the history of the situation in the Federation. And they are trying to resolve that problem. I ask that you give them the opportunity. I look forward to the anniversary message from the Prime Minister and his team to see what agenda they have to lay out for the next year ahead of us. I also want to big up the Deputy Prime Minister, the man Jeffrey Handy there in the #1 constituency. I know you're trying, and there's a lot of appeal to do better. That's what government is about. Let's not get complacent and react aggressively and scream out or curse at the people that is demanding more of you. The reason why they are demanding more is because they think you have the ability to do more. So let's continue to do what we have to do and appreciate the people that allow you to be there. And as we go across to #2, the hardest working tourism minister, Sister Marsha Henderson, I personally want to thank you for taking the opportunity to go and do the work of the people. I know it was not an easy decision, but I am happy that you took the time out and make that final decision to be a part of the team. And the King Congress, I know you ain't finished your song as yet, so I don't expect you to finish all the work that is ahead of you in 1 year. You got a 5-year term, you're batting good, keep up the good work. The critics will come at you, just stay focused. I got your back. Continue to do what you're doing and continue to stay in touch with the people. The hardest working minister there in #4, the man Samuel Duggins. I have watched you struggle over the years, and I am proud of you, what you have accomplished and where you are. And I know you're serious about giving back to the people of St. Kitts Nevis. So continue, keep up the good work, and I have your back as well. The Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, I know that they say you're the foreign minister, but the people of #6, they're saying they want to say a little more of you. I too need to say a little more of you and have a conversation with you. So while you're doing your work, you're doing a good job, but with the people of #6, we need to have some conversations about where we are and where we are going. We know only what so much you could do in the short space you're doing. So continue doing your good work. And I look forward to that conversation. Sister Joy Clark, just the same. The people are talking about not seeing enough of you. I'm not there, so I cannot confirm what I'm saying to you. If you're not available to the people, you need to start making some time I don't take this as a criticism, but an observation. So you guys need to just listen when the folks are speaking to you. In the not too distant future, these are the people you're going to come back to and ask to give you another opportunity. But Garth Wilkins, Attorney General, I want to thank you for being so accessible and following up with the concerns and responses to the concern of the people. Continue doing what you're doing. And again, I know you guys are a powerful team. Brother Nata, Sister Islin Phillip, I want to thank you guys for your service. And the rest of the Labor Administration, our civil servants, the High Command, nurses, doctors, and everyone that is contributing so far. I just want to thank everybody for bringing us this far. Today, the anniversary of nomination, they mean a lot to me. I remember the struggle last year. I remember the mess up at St. Peter's when I went there to support Dr. Joe and the trouble they gave us on nomination there. I remember the struggle in number 3 for Congress, what transpired there. And they say memories don't live like people do. But my memory of what we went through for the past 7 years, it still affects me. And if it affects me, it affects you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. You folks in Nevis, we know what happened in Nevis. We know that NRP won the election, their hands down. But like I said before, I personally, I am satisfied with the outcome because things could have been a lot different had NRP got into office. I also want to thank those folks and those programs in Nevis, like I said earlier. Brother Carlisle Powell, Brother Daly, and Brother Tulu on the Wednesday and the Thursday evening show. You guys are doing a good job. My observation is that I would like the conversation to try to stay on the issues locally, what's taking place with the Blue Machine, with Baby Brantley, and what's happening on the island of Nevis. We need to keep the attention there. You cannot speak about those wrongdoings on the island of Nevis enough. You guys are doing a good job. Continue to keep the faith, and you guys have your back. You folks on the Target program on a Saturday evening again, Brother Daly, Brother Tulu, and Brother Hensley Daniel, keep up the good work. Again, I know that sometimes we stray away and have other conversation about regional stuff and whatever. But whatever we do, we need to stay focused on what is affecting us on the island of Nevis. That misfit of a CCM party led by Baby Brantley, we have to deal with it. They have their internal problem. I am getting the calls on a regular basis. They are having their infights like everybody else. Those guys, they're fed up of Baby Brantley. He's getting pressure inside and outside. They do not want him there. So you guys just have to stay focused. Stay on message. And let's rid Nevis of this cancer of a premier that is just taking the country down the wrong road. Again, I want to thank my brother there, Brother Dwight Cozier, for joining me last week. Very powerful show, very powerful information. I look forward to having you back. I want to thank my boy Ira McMahon for joining me this evening. I want to thank Brother Dwyer Astafan for his commentary today. Very powerful commentary. Over the next 2 weeks, next Wednesday and the following week, is 2 very important weeks because we are heading into the anniversary, the first year anniversary of the Labor administration. I look forward to see what Prime Minister Joe and his team have to tell us in regards to their first anniversary. And before I close this evening, I want to give condolences again to Prime Minister Joe, Sister Michelle, and the rest of the Heiliger family, and the passing of Brother Mickey Stokes. I understand there's a candlelight vigil tomorrow evening over at the park in Newtown. They're going to start from his place of business there on 4th Street. I think it's 6 o'clock, I think I heard. If it's not 6, it's 7, but you can follow up with someone on the ground to give you the proper information, or you can put the proper information in the thread. So tomorrow evening, Thursday, there will be a candlelight vigil for Brother Mickey Heiliger. Funeral is scheduled to take place at the Newtown field there on the 2nd of August. That is next Wednesday. Sorry that I would not be able to make it down. I don't have the luxury of dollars like those criminal politicians there to run in and out for 2 days, have folks visiting here that I have to entertain up. But St. Kitts Nevis, looking forward to being back in the not too distant future. And in the meantime and between time, I just want to say one love to you guys. And again, happy birthday to my father, Alfonso Morrishaw, and your 90th birthday today, July 26, 2023. Gwyneth Morrishaw, good evening. Hope all is well. Sister Beverly Morrishaw, hope you're ready to jam on Saturday. And the Basharan, big up Sister Kia, my baby girl, lovely baby girl. Had fun with her earlier today. And in the meantime and between time, I just want to say to everyone, continue to pay attention, continue to stay focused, continue to be safe.